Hey guys, tonight we're taking a journey back, way back, to a time when the sun beat down on vast stretches of golden sand, and a mighty river, the Nile, carved a path through an otherwise unforgiving landscape. Imagine, if you will, the scent of burning incense mingling with the dry desert air, the distant echo of a sitar, and the low murmur of a million voices, all in thrall to one person. That person, my friends, is you. You are the Pharaoh, the living god, the very embodiment of Egypt itself. Your skin, though perhaps unaccustomed to such a fierce sun, is now anointed with fragrant oils. Your senses are overwhelmed by the richness of the palace, the glint of gold, the rustle of fine linen. You feel the weight of a heavy, ornate collar around your neck, cool and smooth against your skin, a constant reminder of the immense power you wield. But let me tell you, this isn't some glamorous vacation. This divine gig comes with a few unforeseen complications. You probably won't survive this, at least not with your modern sensibilities intact. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And while you're at it, drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you right now. It's always wild to see how far these whispers of history travel. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You awaken, not to the blare of an alarm, but to the hushed movements of servants, their bare feet silent on the cool, tiled floors of your royal bedchamber. The first rays of dawn, filtered through alabaster windows, cast long, shifting shadows across the painted murals that adorn your wall scenes of gods and goddesses, of your ancestors, of the very cosmos you were said to command. As you stretch, perhaps with a slight groan that no one dares acknowledge, you feel the familiar ache in your joints, a stark reminder that even a god-king is still, in many ways, just flesh and bone. But this flesh and bone is special. Oh, it is very special. Because you, the Pharaoh, are not merely a ruler. You are a living deity, a direct descendant of the gods themselves. And how do you maintain such an impeccable, unquestionable link to the divine? Well, in ancient Egypt, the answer was often disturbingly simple, yet profoundly complex: divine bloodlines, maintained through practices that would make most modern sensibilities recoil. You see, for millennia, the preservation of the royal lineage was paramount. It wasn't just about keeping the throne in the family. It was about ensuring the purity of the divine essence that flowed through your veins. This often meant marrying within the immediate family. Yes, that's right, your queen. The great royal wife might well be your sister, or perhaps even your half-sister. In some cases, though less common, and certainly a subject of ongoing historical debate, it might even be your daughter. Imagine the family gatherings, darling. Pass the papyrus, brother husband. Oh, sister wife, could you just adjust my urius? For me, it certainly makes for some awkward holiday photos, doesn't it? This wasn't just some peculiar quirk. It was a deeply ingrained theological and political necessity. The pharaoh was the son of Ra, or Horus, or Amun-Ra, depending on the dynasty and the prevailing religious dogma. To dilute that divine connection with common blood was unthinkable. It would weaken the very fabric of the cosmos, disrupt cosmic order and balance that you, as pharaoh, were responsible for maintaining. So, while you might find yourself suppressing a shudder at the thought of marrying your sibling, in your ancient Egyptian mind, it is the most natural, indeed, the only, logical course of action. You are, after all, preserving godhood. Take Akhenaten, for instance, that famously revolutionary pharaoh who tried to shift Egypt to monotheism. He married Nefertiti, whose precise familial relationship to him is a bit murky, but he also married his own daughters. Yes, his daughters. While the full implications of these unions are still debated by Egyptologists, It's clear they were intended to strengthen his claim to divine authority and ensure the purity of his lineage, reinforcing his unique connection to the Aten, his chosen solar deity. It wasn't about creating a modern family. It was about cementing a theological dynasty. Now, you might wonder about the genetic consequences of such close-skin marriages. Modern science, of course, paints a rather bleak picture of the long-term effects of inbreeding, with increased risks of genetic disorders. And indeed, some historians speculate that the declining health of later pharaohs, evident in their skeletal remains, could be attributed, at least in part, to these practices. Tutankhamun, your famous successor or predecessor, depending on where you are in the timeline of pharaohs, is a prime example. DNA analysis suggests his parents were full siblings. He suffered from various ailments, including a club foot, malaria, and bone necrosis. While it's impossible to definitively link all his woes solely to inbreeding, the connection is certainly compelling. You, as pharaoh, are blissfully unaware of Gregor Mendel or the intricacies of genetic inheritance. You simply operate under the ancient wisdom that divine blood must remain pure. Any physical ailments are simply the will of the gods, or perhaps the result of a misstep in a ritual, or a slight against a deity. Never a direct consequence of your family tree looking more like a tangled bush. The choice of your great royal wife, the most significant female figure in your court, is not merely a matter of personal affection. Oh no, honey. This isn't Tinder. It's a calculated decision, heavily influenced by political considerations, religious obligations, and, of course, the sacred imperative of maintaining the divine bloodline. She is not just your partner. She is a crucial link in the chain of divine succession, often depicted alongside you with equal or nearly equal divine status, participating in religious rituals, and even holding considerable economic power. Think of Hatshepsut. Not a great royal wife in the typical sense, but a female pharaoh who literally put on the traditional male attire, including the false beard, to assert her kingly authority. Her ascent to power, while controversial, highlights the extraordinary potential influence of royal women in a system built on divine lineage. You also have other wives, lesser wives, and concubines, forming your royal harem. These women, often daughters of foreign rulers or high-ranking Egyptian nobles, serve various purposes, cementing alliances, providing male heirs, because, let's be honest, you need a backup or two, just in case, and adding to your prestige. But none holds the unique theological and political standing of the great royal wife. Her children, especially her sons, are the primary inheritors of the throne, carrying the purest form of your divine essence. The succession is rarely smooth. However, even with a clear lineage, plots, rivalries, and sudden deaths are as common as sandstorms in the desert. You find yourself, therefore, in a fascinating, if somewhat claustrophobic, position. Every aspect of your personal life, particularly your marital choices, is dictated by millennia of tradition and the immense weight of your divine office. You are not marrying for love, or even for companionship in the modern sense. You are marrying for Egypt. You are marrying for the gods. You are marrying to ensure the continued cosmic balance that your people believe hinges on your very existence. Your scribes, endlessly diligent, meticulously record your lineage, tracing it back through generations, sometimes even fabricating connections to legendary figures and deities to strengthen your claim. This written record, preserved on papyrus and carved into temple walls, is not just history. It is prophecy, a declaration of your divine right to rule. It reinforces the idea that your blood is truly different, truly sacred, and truly chosen. When you look at your young son, a squalling infant, you don't just see a child. You see the next embodiment of Horus, the future guardian of Mat, the next vessel for the divine power that currently resides within you. And that child's lineage, too, will be meticulously documented, its purity asserted, its divine potential magnified through the prism of those incestuous unions that define your family tree. It's enough to make you wonder if anyone ever just eloped with a shepherd from the Delta. But no, that would simply be unthinkable. The weight of eternity rests on your very specific family planning. Historians still argue whether the frequency of these sibling marriages increased or decreased over different dynasties, and what impact that might have had on the overall vitality of the royal lines. But for you, the pharaoh, it is simply the way things have always been, and the way they must always be. As the first rays of dawn fully illuminate your bedchamber, you rise, not to the gentle start of a leisurely day, but to the immediate and overwhelming demands of being a living God. Every fiber of your being, from the moment your feet touch the cool floor, is dedicated to the performance of your divine role. This isn't a job you can clock out of. It's a 24/7 all-access pass to cosmic responsibility. You are the nexus between the human and the divine, and that means your entire existence is a continuous, meticulously orchestrated ritual. First, the elaborate toilette. You are not simply getting dressed. You are undergoing a sacred transformation. Priests, not mere servants, attend to you. They purify you with cool water drawn from the Nile, itself a divine entity. Incense, smoky and sweet, curls round you, warding off malevolent spirits and preparing your essence for the day's tasks. Your hair, probably not the magnificent full head of hair often depicted in your statues. It's amazing what a good wig can do for one's public image. Is carefully dressed, or more likely, a heavy, intricate wig is placed upon your head. This isn't just a fashion statement. It's a symbolic crown, imbued with protective magic. Then come the cosmetics, kohl around your eyes, not for vanity, but to protect against the harsh desert glare, and to emulate the falcon god Horus. Your skin is anointed with oils, your nails are polished. Every step is a deliberate act, reaffirming your divine status and connection to the cosmos. You're like a superhero getting into costume, but instead of fighting crime, you're fighting cosmic chaos. And honestly, it takes longer, way longer, once prepared. You proceed to the first of many daily rituals, the morning offering to the gods in your private shrine within the palace. This isn't a quick prayer. It's an elaborate ceremony involving specific incantations, precise gestures, and offerings of food, drink, and fragrant resins. You are not just worshipping, you are communing. You are feeding the gods, maintaining their strength, and in doing so, ensuring their continued benevolence towards Egypt. Without your daily efforts, the sun might not rise, the Nile might not flood, and the very fabric of existence could unravel. No pressure, right? Just the fate of the entire known world resting on your ability to remember which hand gesture accompanies which prayer. After these private devotions, your public duties begin. You ascend your throne, a magnificent construct of gilded wood, in precious stones, and intricate carvings that depict your triumphs and your divine lineage. The hall is already filled with courtiers, scribes, viziers, and high priests, all bowing low, their faces averted from your divine gaze. To look directly upon you, without invitation, is a sign of disrespect, even sacrilege. You are the sun, God made manifest, after all, and direct sunlight can be intense. This daily audience is not just about governing, it's a performance. Every word you utter, every nod of your head, every wave of your hand is observed, interpreted, and understood as a divine command. You listen to petitions, issue decrees, confirm appointments, and oversee the vast bureaucracy that keeps Egypt running. It's like managing the world's largest, oldest, and most religiously driven corporation, and you're the CEO, chairman, and lead spiritual advisor, all rolled into one very expensively dressed package. Imagine the sheer mental fortitude. required to maintain this persona day in and day out. You cannot show weakness, doubt, or even too much personal emotion. You are a symbol, an icon. Your words are law, your decisions are divine. Even a simple sigh could be interpreted as a bad omen or a sign of divine displeasure. You must embody Mat, truth, justice, and cosmic order in your every action. Historians still argue whether some pharaohs genuinely believed in their own divinity or if it was a clever political construct. But from your perspective, the line between belief and performance blurs into oblivion. You are the God King because everyone, from the lowest peasant to the highest priest, believes you are, and your every action reinforces that belief. One fascinating, if slightly unsettling, aspect of this public performance involves the concept of the said festival or jubilee. This incredibly ancient ritual was typically held after you had reigned for 30 years, and then every 3 years thereafter. It wasn't just a party. It was a ritualistic reaffirmation of your kingship and, crucially, your physical and spiritual vitality. Think of it as a divine fitness test. You would perform a symbolic run around a track within a specially constructed said festival court, demonstrating your continued strength and ability to rule. You would also repeat your coronation rites, symbolically renewing your bond with the gods, and solidifying your right to the throne. If you were a bit past your prime, perhaps a little wheezy after that jog, well, the optics weren't great, but the symbolism was what mattered. It's like a corporate retreat, but with more running, more incense, and significantly higher stakes for poor performance. Beyond the formal audiences, your public life extends to leading religious processions. You might be carried on a gilded palanquin, a portable throne, through the streets of your capital, surrounded by chanting priests and cheering crowds. The air would be thick with dust, the scent of sweat and devotion, and the rhythmic beat of drums. You, the pharaoh, are the focal point, your mere presence believed to bless the land and ensure prosperity. People would throw flowers, prostrate themselves, and gaze upon you with a mixture of awe and fear. It's quite the parade, and you're always the Grand Marshal. No matter how much your back aches from sitting bolt upright on that palanquin, you'll maintain the serene, impassive expression of a living god. Even your meals are public spectacles, albeit for a select audience. You eat, but you do so with a certain decorum, every movement deliberate, every bite a continuation of the performance. You are observed, even in your most private moments, because in ancient Egypt, there is very little truly private about being the pharaoh. Your body is not just your own. It belongs to Egypt, to the gods, and to the cosmic order you embody. Then there's the quirky tidbit that adds another layer to this demanding existence. The pharaoh's sacred urine. Yes, you heard that right. In some instances, the pharaoh's urine was considered to have divine properties, capable of warding off evil or bringing blessings. While not a daily public spectacle, thank the gods for small mercies. It speaks to the extreme reverence and almost pathological devotion surrounding your person. Imagine having to worry if your morning pee was up to divine standards. It's a level of public scrutiny that makes modern celebrity culture look like a casual stroll in the park. You're literally divine, from head to, well, you get the idea. This isn't just a job where you sign autographs. You're the source of holy bodily fluids. This relentless public performance of divinity is crucial because it reinforces the stability and legitimacy of your rule. In a world where the forces of chaos, Isfit, constantly threatened the established order, Mat, your unwavering presence and ritualistic adherence were seen as the ultimate bulwark against disaster. Every temple built, every statue erected in your likeness, every festival celebrated in your honor serves to amplify your divine authority. You are the sun god shining on earth, the embodiment of cosmic harmony. When the Nile floods, it's because you have pleased the gods. When the harvest is bountiful, it's a direct result of your piety. And if disaster strikes, well, then you better double-check your rituals, because clearly, you've let something slip. The pressure is immense. There's no vacation from being a god. No sick days. No, I just don't feel like being divine today. From the moment you wake until the moment you drift into a heavily guarded, ritually protected sleep, you are on display, perpetually performing the role of the ultimate ruler. You are the living image of order, power, and sacred connection. And maintaining that image is the bedrock of your disturbed, yet undeniably magnificent existence. Even in your private chambers, you know that the whispers of the court, the watchful eyes of your personal attendants, and the omnipresent weight of your divine office never truly leave you. It's a role you were born into, and one you will perform, until your last breath, and indeed, far beyond, as you prepare for your eternal afterlife. Every step, every gesture, every breath is a calculated move in the grand cosmic dance, with you, the Pharaoh, leading the way. After the morning's intense public performances and private devotions, you finally retreat, briefly, into the heart of your domain, the royal palace. But don't mistake this for a leisurely escape. Your palace, rather than a cozy home, is a sprawling, bustling nerve center of administration, religion, and constant vigilance. It's less a house and more a high-security, religiously charged ancient Egyptian corporate campus, where you also happen to sleep. And sometimes, if you're lucky, enjoy a nice mango. As you move through its labyrinthine corridors, you sense the sheer scale of the operation. The air inside, though perhaps cooler than the desert outside thanks to clever ventilation systems and thick mud brick walls, still hums with activity. The rhythmic clack of a scribe's reed pen on papyrus, the hushed whispers of courtiers, the scent of baking bread from the palace kitchens, and the distant murmur of devotional chants from a nearby private temple. These are the constant background noises of your existence. You're never truly alone, never truly off duty. Even in the gilded silence of your personal chambers, you know that unseen eyes, or at least highly observant ears, are always close by. Your personal quarters, while luxurious, are not designed for intimate comfort in the modern sense. Think grand rather than cozy. Walls are adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting scenes of the gods, your triumphs, and the bounty of the Nile. Floors are often inlaid with intricate patterns, cool beneath your bare feet. Furniture, though exquisite, is more functional than plush, gilded chairs, alabaster tables, and perhaps a simple, raised bed platform. There are no soft sofas for binge-watching Netflix, largely because Netflix hasn't been invented yet, and also because, as a divine monarch, leisure isn't really on your cosmic to-do list. The palace itself is a city within a city, housing not just your immediate family and personal retinue, but also hundreds, if not thousands, of servants, scribes, priests, guards, artisans, and administrators. Each has a specific role in maintaining your household and, by extension, the kingdom. It's an intricate, hierarchical machine, and you are its prime mover. Managing such a vast enterprise requires constant attention. You might personally inspect the quality of the grain stored in the palace granaries, or review reports on the progress of a temple construction project. Every detail, no matter how small, is ultimately your responsibility, because your divine oversight ensures its success. One of the most immediate realities of palace life is the constant presence of security. You are the embodiment of Egypt, and as such, you are a prime target for anyone seeking to usurp power, or perhaps, as we'll discuss later, for disgruntled members of your own family. Guards, armed with spears and shields, are stationed at every entrance, patrolling corridors, and even standing vigil outside your private rooms. These aren't just ceremonial guards. They are highly trained soldiers, loyal to your person. You might develop a casual familiarity with some of their faces, acknowledging them with a slight nod, but never truly letting your guard down. After all, a pharaoh's life, for all its splendor, is often lived on a knife edge. The more gold you wear, the bigger a target you are. It's the ancient world's version of having really good cybersecurity, but with more pointy sticks. Then there's the peculiar reality of royal children. Your numerous offspring, born of various wives and concubines, also reside within the palace walls, while the great royal wife's children hold primary importance for succession. All royal children contribute to the overall prestige and future stability of the dynasty. They are educated within the palace, learning hieroglyphs, history, religion, and the complex rituals they will need to perform or oversee. It's a bit like a very exclusive, very high-stakes boarding school, where all the teachers are priests, and all the lessons involve divine mandates. You might occasionally observe their lessons, a fleeting moment of paternal pride, but your interactions are formal, distant. They are, first and foremost, future vessels of divine power, not merely your progeny. A quirky detail of palace life is the royal pet contingent. While we'll delve deeper into the menagerie later, within the palace, you might encounter your sacred lions, perhaps even a beloved baboon. These animals are not just companions, they are symbolic extensions of your power, often trained to participate in royal hunts or even appear in religious processions. Imagine a massive, sleepy lion basking in a sun-drenched courtyard, occasionally letting out a low rumble that vibrates through the very stones of the palace. It adds a certain je ne sais quoi to the morning commute to your audience chamber. Just make sure you don't step on its tail. The sheer logistics of feeding and maintaining such a vast household are staggering. Palaces had their own bakeries, breweries, slaughterhouses, and extensive storage facilities. Vast quantities of grain, meat, fruit, and beer were consumed daily. Your personal chefs, masters of their craft, would prepare your meals, often elaborate affairs designed not just for sustenance, but also for display and ritual purity. We'll explore the royal diet in more detail later, but suffice it to say, you won't be ordering takeout. Everything is homegrown, so to speak, and overseen with meticulous care. While seemingly secure, the palace walls also contained their own brand of quiet danger. The intricate web of court politics. Every courtier, every priest, every vizier has their own ambitions, their own factions, their own loyalties. Gossip, intrigue, and subtle power plays are as common as sand in the desert. You, as pharaoh, must be constantly aware of these undercurrents, discerning true loyalty from thinly veiled ambition. Favors are granted, positions bestowed, but always with an eye to maintaining the delicate balance of power. A misplaced word, a slight oversight, or a perceived snub could ignite a simmering feud that, left unchecked, might threaten your very throne. Historians still argue whether the constant threat of internal plotting genuinely impacted the mental health of pharaohs, but it's clear the stress must have been immense. It's like living in a gilded fishbowl where everyone is secretly angling for your prime spot. Consider the sheer amount of wealth stored within these walls. Gold, silver, precious stones, exotic timbers, fine linens, the spoils of conquest, the tributes from vassal states, and the accumulated riches of generations. These aren't just for display. They are the tangible representation of Egypt's prosperity and your divine blessing. You might walk past storerooms overflowing with jars of honey, bales of woven cloth, or chests of lapis lazuli. This wealth underpins your power, enabling you to fund massive building projects, maintain your army, and support the vast priesthood. It's like having the world's largest, most ancient bank vault, but without the pesky interest rates. Life inside the royal palace is a curious blend of ultimate power and perpetual confinement. You command armies, build colossal monuments, and dictate the spiritual destiny of millions. Yet your personal freedom is severely limited. You cannot simply wander off for a solitary stroll by the Nile, or pop down to the market for some fresh dates. Every movement is accompanied by a retinue, every interaction observed. You are a living symbol, always on stage, even when you are seemingly behind closed doors. The golden cage, however magnificent, is still a cage. Your existence is defined by duty, ritual, and the chilling understanding that the entire cosmic order rests on your shoulders, right there, inside those very walls. Having navigated the intricate dance of palace, life, and the relentless public performance of your divinity, you now turn your thoughts to a matter of paramount importance, one that truly defines your divine mandate, the sustenance of Egypt itself. As Pharaoh, you are not just a political ruler, you are the divine guarantor of the harvest, the living conduit through which the gods bestow their bounty upon the land. And in ancient Egypt, that bounty hinged almost entirely on one colossal, unpredictable, and utterly essential force, the Nile River. You feel the weight of this responsibility acutely. Your daily rituals, your very existence, are geared towards ensuring the Nile's annual inundation, the life-giving flood that transforms the arid landscape into fertile fields. Without it, there is no harvest, no food, no life. The prosperity, indeed, the very survival of millions of your subjects, rests squarely on your shoulders. You might internally sigh at this enormous pressure, but outwardly you must project absolute confidence and control. After all, you're a god. Gods don't panic about weather forecasts. They are the weather forecast. Imagine the tension in the hot, dry months leading up to the flood season. The fields lie parched and cracked, the sun beats down relentlessly, and the air is thick with anticipation. You, the Pharaoh, are constantly receiving reports from your scribes and overseers stationed along the river. They monitor the rising waters upstream, sending messages carried by swift runners or even homing pigeons, the ancient world's version of a text message, but far less reliable for sending emojis. Every cubit the water rises is meticulously recorded, and these measurements are presented to you as crucial omens. A weak flood means widespread famine, social unrest, and a direct challenge to your divine authority. A too strong flood, while rare, could also bring devastation. It's a delicate balance, and you are the one holding the scales. Your people believe that if you, the Pharaoh, are righteous and perform your rituals correctly, the Nile will respond in kind. You lead elaborate processions and offerings to Hopi, the god of the Nile flood, and to Osiris, the god of fertility, and the underworld, whose death and resurrection mirror the annual cycle of the crops. You ritually cast offerings into the river, reciting ancient prayers, imploring the gods to be generous. These are not mere symbolic gestures. They are believed to be direct interventions, crucial to the very survival of your kingdom. It's like being the CEO of a huge agricultural company, but instead of spreadsheets, your main management tool is divine prayer. And instead of quarterly reports, you get flood height measurements that directly determine whether everyone eats or starves. Once the flood arrives, typically in late summer, you observe the transformation of the landscape with profound relief. The sight of the Nile spilling over its banks, depositing nutrient-rich black silt onto the fields, is a spectacle of divine grace. This black earth, or Kemet, is the very foundation of Egyptian civilization. Your administrators, under your direct orders, then oversee the intricate system of irrigation, canals, and basins, directing the precious water to all arable land. This requires immense logistical planning and coordination, ensuring equitable distribution and preventing disputes among villagers. You dispatch teams of workers, inspect the infrastructure, and hold court to resolve any conflicts that arise over water rights. It's a massive civil engineering project, repeated annually, and you're the chief engineer with a divine hard hat. During the planting and harvesting seasons, your divine presence is just as critical. You might participate in symbolic acts of plowing the first furrow or cutting the first sheaf of grain, further reinforcing your connection to the agricultural cycle. These aren't just photo opportunities, they are sacred acts, vital to blessing the crops and ensuring a bountiful yield. Your image, indeed, your actual body, is the fertility charm for the entire nation. Now, for a slightly quirky tidbit that demonstrates the pharaoh's direct involvement in daily sustenance, even if symbolically, the royal bakeries. While you certainly don't need the dough yourself, imagine a pharaoh with flour on their ceremonial beard. The palace maintained vast bakeries to feed your enormous retinue and to produce bread for offerings. Some pharaohs were known to occasionally inspect these operations, not just for quality control, but as a symbolic gesture of overseeing the very staff of life for their people. Imagine the nervous bakers when the living god walks into their steamy domain, perhaps offering a divine sniff of a freshly baked loaf. Is this bread divine enough, Jenkins? It certainly put the pressure on to get that rise just right, despite your divine powers. Famine was a terrifying and recurring reality in ancient Egypt. When the Nile failed to flood adequately for several years in a row, the consequences were catastrophic. Food shortages led to widespread suffering, disease, and social unrest. Historical records, such as the famine, steely though its authenticity, as a direct historical account is debated by historians, it certainly reflects the ancient fear of famine. Describe periods of severe hardship where people resorted to desperate measures for food. During such crises, your public performance would intensify. You would lead even more fervent prayers, organize the distribution of what meager grain reserves existed, and perhaps even initiate emergency irrigation projects to demonstrate your unwavering commitment to your people, even as you privately worried about the god's displeasure. This is where the rubber meets the very dry, cracked road of divine responsibility. Conversely, periods of prolonged prosperity were attributed directly to your wise and pious rule. The granaries would overflow, the markets would be abundant, and the entire land would rejoice in the blessings you, the pharaoh, had supposedly secured. This constant feedback loop, prosperity reinforcing your divinity, hardship questioning it, meant that your ability to manage the logistics of food production and distribution was as crucial as your spiritual duties. You weren't just a priest, you were the ultimate agricultural minister, supply chain manager, and emergency relief coordinator. Historians still argue whether the pharaoh's obsession with agricultural rituals was purely a political tool to control the populace or a deeply ingrained spiritual belief in their own vital role in the cosmic order. From your perspective, it's both. You believe you are responsible, and your people believe you are responsible, creating a powerful synergy that maintains the social fabric. So, as you walk through your palace, or gaze out at the verdant fields after a successful flood, you feel a profound, if exhausting, sense of purpose. You are the beating heart of Egypt's lifeblood, the sun that ripens the grain, the very essence of the Nile's generative power. It's a role that demands constant vigilance, unwavering faith, and the capacity to carry the hopes and fears of an entire civilization on your divine shoulders. And let's be honest, it really makes you appreciate a good meal when it finally arrives on your royal table. The weight of your crown, both literally and figuratively, is a constant presence. Having secured the sustenance of Egypt through your divine intercession with the Nile, your attention now shifts to another crucial aspect of your performance, your public image. And in ancient Egypt, your image was not just a matter of personal style. It was a carefully constructed, deeply symbolic statement of your power, your divinity, and your connection to the cosmic order. Every single piece of your attire, from the simplest linen garment to the most elaborate crown, is saturated with meaning. You are, quite literally, dressed to kill. In a spiritual sense, you begin your day, or at least your public appearance, by being adorned This isn't a quick trip to the closet. Attendants, usually high-ranking priests or specialized royal servants, meticulously prepare your sacred adornments and royal regalia. You feel the cool, crisp touch of fine linen against your skin, a fabric known for its purity and comfort in the sweltering heat. But even the way your simple kilt or shendit is pleated has meaning, often signifying your adherence to tradition. Then come the layers of symbolism. Your headwear, for example, is far more than just a hat. The poshunt, the double crown, is the iconic symbol of your unified rule over Upper and Lower Egypt. You feel its weight, a physical manifestation of the immense responsibility of governing two distinct lands, bound together by the Nile and by your divine person. The white crown of Upper Egypt, tall and conical, represents the southern land, while the red crown of Lower Egypt, with its flat top and coiled protrusion, symbolizes the northern delta. When combined, they proclaim you as the absolute sovereign of both. Imagine trying to get that through airport security. Sir, is that a weapon or just your ceremonial headpiece? Then there's the uraeus, the rearing cobra, often depicted on your brow. This isn't just a cool accessory. It's a powerful, protective deity, Wadjet, the cobra goddess of Lower Egypt, ready to strike down your enemies with fiery venom. Often, alongside it, you might have the head of a vulture, Nekbet, the patron goddess of Upper Egypt. These are your bodyguards, your divine enforcers, permanently affixed to your forehead. It's like having a tiny, very angry, magical serpent, and a fierce bird of prey staring down anyone who dares displease you. Talk about an intimidating stare. Around your neck, you wear vast, intricate broad collars made of gold, faience, and semi-precious stones, depicting rows of beads, floral motifs, or symbols of deities. These aren't just bling, they are protective amulets meant to ward off evil and imbue you with divine energy. Each bead, each inlay, carries a spiritual significance. They're heavy, yes, but the weight reminds you of the immense power they represent. The false beard, often seen on your statues and even sometimes worn during important ceremonies, is another peculiar but vital piece of your regalia. Unlike the natural beards of mortal men, your pharaonic beard is typically long, narrow, and plaited, curving outward at the end. It's not about hiding a double chin. It's a direct reference to the gods, particularly Osiris, who is often depicted with a similar beard. Even female pharaohs like Hatshepsut were depicted with this false beard, demonstrating that it wasn't about gender, but about embodying the divine masculine principle of kingship. It's the ultimate symbol of authority, saying, yes, I am a god, and yes, my beard is better than yours, even if it's fake. In your hand, you hold the Heka crook and the Nekaka flail. These are not just fancy walking sticks and fly swatters. The crook, traditionally used by shepherds, symbolizes your role as the shepherd of your people, guiding and protecting them. The flail, a tool for threshing grain, represents your power to punish and to ensure the land's fertility. Together, they embody the dual nature of your rule, benevolent leadership and stern authority. You practice holding them, feeling the balance, understanding that even these seemingly simple objects are extensions of your divine will. Your sandals, if you wear them at all often, you go barefoot in sacred spaces, might be intricately decorated. Sometimes, the soles of your sandals would depict the bound figures of your enemies, ensuring that with every step, you symbolically trampled your foes. It's a subtle, yet powerful, daily assertion of dominance. You're literally walking all over your opposition. Then there are the elaborate pectorals and amulets you wear. These are large, decorative breastplates, often featuring scarabs, winged deities, or the Eye of Horus. Each one is a potent charm designed to protect your life force, to bring you good fortune, and to connect you more deeply with the divine realm. You're basically a walking, talking, God-powered good luck charm for the entire country. A particularly fascinating, though perhaps less overtly visible, part of your royal attire would have been your sacred jewelry. Beyond the public display, you might wear rings, bracelets, and anklets, each imbued with specific magical properties or featuring protective symbols. Gold, considered the flesh of the gods, is omnipresent, reflecting your divine nature. Lapis lazuli, with its deep blue hue, represents the heavens and the cosmic waters. Turquoise symbolizes joy and rebirth. Every gem is carefully chosen, every piece of metal infused with purpose. The sheer impracticality of some of your regalia can be a bit of a burden. Imagine trying to lead an army with a massive double crown and a heavy false beard in the scorching desert heat, or performing complex rituals with pounds of gold and jewels weighing you down. But functionality is secondary to symbolism. Your appearance is a carefully curated performance, designed to inspire awe, fear, and unwavering devotion in your subjects. You are a walking, talking propaganda machine, designed by the gods themselves. Historians still argue whether the complexity of royal regalia evolved primarily from practical protective needs or from increasing theological elaboration over time. But from your perspective, it's simply the way things are. You don them not just because they are beautiful or powerful, but because they make you powerful. They transform you from a mortal man or woman into the living embodiment of the divine. They are your uniform, your armor, and your spiritual conduit, all in one gleaming, heavy package. Every time you catch your reflection in a polished bronze mirror, you don't see yourself, you see Horus. And everyone else does too. This constant ritual of adornment ensures that you are always ready for public appearances, for temple rituals, for military reviews, for anything that requires you to manifest your divine authority. The process is lengthy, precise, and utterly non-negotiable. You are not just wearing clothes, you are wearing Egypt's history, its theology, and its very destiny. With your divine regalia firmly in place, proclaiming your status as the living God, you turn your attention to another complex, often turbulent, facet of your royal life, the royal harem. Now, before your modern mind conjures images of luxurious, romantic escapism, understand that the ancient Egyptian royal harem was far more than just a place for your personal pleasure. It was a vital, intricate, and often dangerous nexus of power, politics, and subtle rivalries. It was, in essence, a gilded cage, not just for the women within it, but often for you, the pharaoh, who had to navigate its delicate dynamics. The royal harem, or Persen meaning house of women, was a sprawling establishment, often located within or adjacent to the main palace complex, or sometimes in separate, dedicated estates. It housed not only your many wives and concubines, but also their children, your mother, perhaps your grandmother, and a vast retinue of female servants, musicians, dancers, tutors, and administrators. It was a miniature society unto itself, run by its own hierarchy, often overseen by your great royal wife or your royal mother. Think of it as a very exclusive, very well-staffed, and perpetually simmering pressure cooker, your primary wife. The great royal wife, as we discussed, holds a unique and elevated status. She is the principal queen, often your sister, and her children are the primary heirs to the throne. She might have her own extensive household within the harem, her own estates, and considerable political influence. She is not just a spouse. She is a crucial partner in your divine kingship, often depicted alongside you in monumental art, participating in rituals, and even acting as regent if you are incapacitated or when a child pharaoh ascends the throne. She sits atop the harem's social ladder, but even her position is not entirely secure. As we shall see, below her are the numerous secondary wives and royal concubines. These women often came from diverse backgrounds. Many were daughters of foreign rulers sent to Egypt as part of diplomatic alliances, cementing treaties through marriage. Imagine having a collection of wives from various lands, each bringing their own customs, languages, and political agendas to your court. One day you're discussing trade routes with a Hittite princess, the next you're trying to understand the latest fashion from Mitanni. It's like a permanent, very complicated, international summit, disguised as a family dinner. These foreign brides brought prestige and influence, but they also introduced potential vectors for intrigue and rivalries, as each sought to advance her own interests and those of her own land. Other women in the harem might be the daughters of powerful Egyptian nobles, whose families sought to gain influence through proximity to the throne. Their presence helped to cement loyalties among the elite. Then there were the talented women, musicians, dancers, and entertainers who, through their skills, could rise in status and perhaps even catch your eye, leading to a position as a concubine. It was a ladder, albeit a precarious one, where beauty, talent, and cleverness could lead to power, or at least a significant increase in the quality of your linen. The daily life within the harem, for many of these women, could be one of opulence, but also of intense boredom and frustration. They were surrounded by luxury, beautiful gardens, private pools, fine food, and elaborate adornments, but their freedom was severely restricted. Their lives were largely confined to the harem walls, their interactions carefully monitored. Their main purpose was often to bear children, particularly male heirs, to secure the royal succession. The pressure to produce sons was immense, and a woman who failed to do so might see her influence wane, or even face being cast aside. It's a bit like a very high-stakes reality show, where the grand prize is a royal heir, and elimination means a lifetime of comfortable obscurity. This pressure, combined with the close quarters and the constant vying for your attention and favor, inevitably led to intense rivalries and jealousies. Every woman sought to elevate her own position and that of her children. Courtiers and palace officials often formed alliances with particular women in the harem, hoping to gain influence through them. Imagine the whispers in the courtyards, the subtle snubs at communal meals, the carefully orchestrated rumors designed to undermine a rival. The harem was a hotbed of intrigue, a microcosm of the political maneuvering that permeated your entire court. A famous historical example of this harem intrigue leading to a significant plot is the harem conspiracy against Ramesses III. This plot, detailed in the Turin judicial papyrus, involved one of your secondary wives, Tai, who wished to place her son, Pentuer, on the throne instead of the designated heir. She conspired with a network of royal officials, priests, and harem women, using magic and dark rituals according to the papyrus to attempt to overthrow you. The plot was discovered, and the conspirators, including Tai and Pentuer, were brought to trial and punished, many sentenced to death or forced suicide. It serves as a stark reminder that even within the seemingly secure walls of your private quarters, danger could lurk among those closest to you. Historians still argue about the true extent of Ramesses III's injuries from this plot, or if he indeed died from it, but the chilling details of the papyrus leave little doubt about the harem's capacity for treachery. You, as pharaoh, had to navigate this complex web of relationships. While you held ultimate authority, you couldn't simply ignore the political machinations within your own household. Alienating a powerful foreign queen could destabilize diplomatic relations. Disregarding the influence of a high-ranking noblewoman could lead to resentment and potential disloyalty. You had to balance competing interests, dispense favors shrewdly, and maintain a watchful eye on potential threats, even from those who shared your bed. It's like being a chess master, but all your pieces are people with their own agendas, and some of them might try to poison your tea. A quirky detail about the harem is the role of harem managers or overseers of the harem. These were often male officials, eunuchs in some periods, entrusted with the daily administration and security of the house of women. They were powerful figures, acting as intermediaries between the women and you, the Pharaoh. Imagine being a man whose entire job is to keep a collection of powerful, ambitious, and often bored women happy and in line. It sounds like a job description that would make even the most seasoned HR manager break a sweat. Their loyalty was paramount, as they held immense knowledge of the palace's inner workings and its secrets. For the women themselves, despite the luxuries, life could be monotonous. They would engage in various domestic tasks, learn musical instruments, practice weaving, and partake in religious devotions. Their primary social interactions would be with each other, leading to strong bonds of friendship, but also, as noted, intense rivalries. It was a world of whispers, alliances, and the constant pursuit of influence through the one person who truly mattered: you, the Pharaoh. Ultimately, the royal harem was a vital institution for ensuring the continuity of your dynasty and the stability of your kingdom. It was where future pharaohs were born and raised, where diplomatic ties were forged, and where the intricate dance of power played out in hushed tones. But for you, the Pharaoh, it also represented a constant source of potential danger. A reminder that even among your own family, loyalty was a fluid concept, and that behind the gilded walls, the struggle for power was ceaseless. It truly was a golden cage, holding both immense power and pervasive vulnerability. Having navigated the intricate political currents of the harem and meticulously chosen your divine attire, you are now faced with a stark, undeniable truth. Despite all your godlike power and elaborate rituals, you are still, in many respects, profoundly mortal. The air you breathe, the food you eat, the very environment that sustains your people, also carries the seeds of illness and discomfort. You, the divine Pharaoh, are subject to the same frailties of the flesh as the humblest peasant. And in ancient Egypt, where medicine was a fascinating blend of practical remedies, magical incantations, and desperate superstition, royal health was a constant underlying concern. Imagine waking up with a sore throat or a splitting headache. For a mortal, it's an annoyance. For you, the Pharaoh, it's potentially a cosmic crisis. Any sign of weakness, any hint of illness, could be interpreted as a sign of divine displeasure, or worse, a weakening of your connection to the gods. Your health is inextricably linked to the well-being of the entire nation. If you sneeze, is it just dust, or is it a precursor to a bad harvest? The pressure is immense. You can't exactly call in sick from being a god. Your personal physicians, known as chief physicians of Upper and Lower Egypt, are among the most respected and powerful figures in your court. These aren't just witch doctors. Ancient Egyptian medicine, while certainly incorporating magical elements, also possessed a remarkable degree of practical knowledge. They understood anatomy to a certain extent, thanks to mummification practices, and had a vast pharmacopoeia of herbal remedies, salves, and poultices. You might undergo treatments ranging from relatively straightforward wound dressing to more esoteric concoctions aimed at balancing the humors or expelling evil spirits thought to cause disease. Consider the reality of dental health in ancient Egypt. Your diet, rich in bread that was often gritty with sand from the grinding stones, meant that tooth wear and abscesses were incredibly common, even among the royalty. Imagine the throbbing pain of a severe toothache, and then imagine trying to maintain your serene, divine composure while presiding over a state ceremony. Your dentists, specialized professionals within the medical hierarchy, might attempt extractions or drain abscesses, often with primitive tools and without effective anesthetics. A good day at the royal dentist probably still involved a lot of clenching and gritting. You certainly won't be flashing a dazzling, pearly white smile on your sarcophagus. Diseases like malaria, dysentery, tuberculosis, and various parasitic infections were endemic in ancient Egypt, thriving in the warm, watery environment of the Nile Delta. Even within the supposedly pristine palace, you are susceptible. Your physicians would attempt to treat these ailments with varying degrees of success. Some remedies were surprisingly effective, like certain herbal anti-inflammatories. Others, less so, like using crocodile dung as a cure-all, which would likely only worsen your condition. Remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from earlier. It's clear that some of their remedies were more creative than others. A fascinating, if somewhat grim aspect of pharaonic health is the evidence we can gather from your mummified remains. When you eventually die a long way off, hopefully, your body will undergo the elaborate mummification process, which preserves not just your form, but also hints at your life's ailments. X-rays and CT scans of royal mummies have revealed a plethora of conditions. Arthritis was common, likely due to a combination of diet and the heavy, ceremonial regalia you constantly wore. Arteriosclerosis, or hardening of the arteries, suggests a diet perhaps too rich in saturated fats, even if you weren't eating cheeseburgers. Many pharaohs suffered from spinal issues, and as mentioned, dental problems were ubiquitous. Take, for example, the famous case of Tutankhamun, whose mummy has been extensively studied. As we mentioned, he suffered from a club foot, and DNA evidence suggests he had malaria, potentially multiple bouts. He also had a severe bone disorder that would have made walking difficult without a cane, as evidenced by the numerous walking sticks found in his tomb. Imagine being a young pharaoh, constantly in pain, hobbling through rituals that required perfect, divine composure. It's a stark contrast to the perfectly idealized images carved on temple walls. Historians still argue whether his various ailments stemmed more from genetic predisposition due to inbreeding or from environmental factors and injuries. It's a chicken or the egg scenario, but the egg definitely wasn't a healthy one. Beyond physical ailments, there's also the question of your mental and emotional well-being. The immense pressure of constant public performance, the weight of cosmic responsibility, the political intrigues of the harem, and the ever-present threat of famine or invasion would take a toll on anyone. While ancient Egyptian texts don't typically detail psychological distress in pharaohs, it's reasonable to assume that depression, anxiety, or even paranoia could have afflicted some rulers. How do you, a living god, cope with existential dread? Probably by ordering another magnificent temple built. That usually helps with perspective. The intertwining of medicine and magic in ancient Egypt means that your health is not solely in the hands of your physicians. Priests specializing in healing spells and protective amulets would also be consulted. If you suffered from a persistent headache, your physician might offer a herbal concoction, while a priest would recite incantations against the evil eye or invoke a specific deity like Sekhmet, the goddess of healing and destruction. It's a holistic approach, where the body, spirit, and cosmic forces are all considered interconnected. And sometimes, you just need a really strong cup of mint tea and a good lie down. Even your sleep is considered a matter of importance. Dreams, as we'll explore, were often interpreted as divine messages or omens. A restless night for you could be interpreted as a disturbance in the cosmic order. So, even in your slumber, the pressure to be divinely perfect remains. Your sleeping chambers would be protected by amulets, rituals performed to ensure peaceful and auspicious dreams. Ultimately, your disturbance as pharaoh isn't just about the external pressures of rule. It's also the internal struggle of being a mortal vessel for divine power. You strive for perfection, for unwavering health, for every aspect of your being to reflect the divine order. Yet, the persistent cough, the aching joints, the dull throb. Behind your eyes, these are constant, humbling reminders that even as a god-king, you are still bound by the fundamental laws of biology. It's a strange dichotomy, able to command armies and build pyramids, yet vulnerable to the common cold. And that, perhaps, is one of the most profoundly disturbing realities of your gilded existence. Despite the constant pressures of daily rule, the political intrigue, and the vexing reality of your mortal frailties. There is one overriding obsession that defines your existence as Pharaoh: the preparation for eternity. You are building not just a kingdom on earth, but a permanent, magnificent residence in the afterlife. This relentless focus on tombs, the meticulous crafting of your eternal home, and the elaborate preparations for your journey through the duat, the underworld, are arguably the most distinctive and disturbing aspects of your disturbed life. From the moment you ascend the throne, even as a young child, your most significant and enduring project begins: the construction of your tomb. This isn't just a place where you'll be buried. It's your eternal palace, your gateway to the realm of the gods, and a monumental testament to your divine power. You commission the finest architects, engineers, quarrymen, and artisans in all of Egypt. Vast resources, immense manpower, and decades of tireless labor are poured into this single, colossal endeavor. Imagine signing off on blueprints that will take half a century to complete, knowing that you might not even live to see its finished glory. Talk about long-term planning. The form of your tomb might vary depending on the dynasty. Early pharaohs, like those of the Old Kingdom, favored the immense pyramids, geometric mountains of stone designed to reach for the heavens and protect your sarcophagus. Imagine the deafening noise of thousands of workers hauling massive stone blocks, the overseers barking orders, the dust, the sweat, the sheer unimaginable scale of it all. You might personally inspect the quarries, overseeing the selection of the finest granite and limestone. You demand perfection, because any flaw in your eternal dwelling could jeopardize your journey to the afterlife. It's like building the world's most elaborate, impenetrable, and eternally comfortable bunker. Later, particularly during the New Kingdom, pharaohs like yourself would opt for the more secretive, rock-cut tombs of the Valley of the Kings. These subterranean complexes, burrowed deep into the Theban cliffs, were designed for concealment and protection against grave robbers, a constant fear as you know the immense wealth buried with you. Each chamber, each corridor, is adorned with elaborate frescoes and hieroglyphs depicting spells from the Book of the Dead, scenes of your triumphs, and the gods you will encounter on your journey. These aren't just pretty pictures. They are literal instructions, maps, and divine cheat codes for navigating the perilous underworld. You're essentially commissioning a very expensive, very elaborate guide to the afterlife, painted directly onto your walls. The scale of the undertaking is mind-boggling. Thousands of skilled craftsmen, sculptors, painters, masons dedicate their lives to this work. Villages spring up around tomb sites, populated entirely by workers and their families. Their lives, their very purpose, are intertwined with your eternal destiny. You, the pharaoh, are the ultimate project manager, the divine client whose eternal bliss depends on their meticulous labor. You dispatch expeditions to distant lands to acquire exotic materials: cedar from Lebanon for your sarcophagus, gold from Nubia for your burial mask, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan for your jewelry. Every precious item is destined to accompany you into the next life. Your personal sarcophagus is another masterpiece of craftsmanship, often carved from a single, massive block of granite or quartzite. It is meticulously polished and inscribed. Inside, your gilded coffins, nested one within another, will cradle your mummified remains. The most famous example, of course, is the golden burial mask of Tutankhamun, a breathtaking testament to the belief that your eternal form must be as perfect and divine as your earthly one. Imagine the sheer artistry required to sculpt gold, to mimic your features, to embed it with precious stones that glitter with divine light. It's the ultimate selfie for eternity. Beyond the tomb itself, the preparation extends to your vast tomb goods. These are not just grave offerings. They are the necessities for your eternal existence. You commission hundreds, even thousands, of Ushabti figures, small statuettes designed to magically come alive in the afterlife and perform labor on your behalf. Imagine having an army of miniature magical servants to do all your chores in eternity. No more cooking, no more cleaning, just eternal bliss. You also have furniture, clothing, weapons, jewelry, food, drink, and even board games, all meticulously crafted and stored within your tomb, ensuring you want for nothing in the fields of Aru, the Egyptian paradise. A quirky, yet deeply significant aspect of this preparation is the role of your personal scribes and religious advisors. They spend countless hours compiling, editing, and inscribing the spells and texts that will protect you and guide you through the underworld. These texts, collectively known as funerary texts, like the Book of the Dead, the Amduat, or the Book of Gates, are literally your instruction manual for eternal salvation. You will need to know the names of the demons guarding the gates, the correct incantations to pass trials, and the specific deities to appeal to. It's like studying for the ultimate final exam, where the stakes are eternal damnation or divine bliss. And you can't exactly cram for it the night before you die. The religious rationale behind this obsession is profound. You, as Pharaoh, are believed to be a living Horus, destined to become an Osiris in death. Your successful passage through the underworld is not just for your own benefit. It ensures the continued cosmic cycle, the sun's rebirth, and the perpetual flourishing of Egypt itself. If your journey is hindered, if your tomb is disturbed, or if your name is forgotten, it could throw the entire universe into chaos. No pressure. Just the eternal fate of the cosmos depending on whether someone remembers your name. This profound focus on the afterlife also led to the development of incredibly sophisticated mummification techniques, which we'll touch on later. But know that your body, the divine vessel, must be perfectly preserved to house your Ka, life force, and Ba personality, soul in the afterlife. You wouldn't want to arrive in the field of reeds looking anything less than perfectly divine, would you? Historians still argue about the precise theological evolution of these funerary beliefs, and whether the sheer extravagance of royal tombs was driven more by genuine religious conviction or by a desire to demonstrate unprecedented wealth and power to your living subjects. But for you, the pharaoh, the distinction is meaningless. Your tomb is the ultimate expression of your divinity, your legacy, and your unwavering belief in an eternal existence. It is the culmination of your life's work, a project that consumes your resources, your time, and the labor of generations. And as you walk through its echoing chambers during construction, you feel a profound sense of destiny, knowing that this will be your final, eternal home. You've meticulously planned your eternal resting place, meticulously designed your divine wardrobe, and navigated the complex social currents of your harem. But even with all your perceived divine protection and the omnipresent threat of the afterlife, there's a chilling reality that often lurks in the shadows of the most powerful thrones: betrayal. For you, the pharaoh, the serpent on the throne, is not a mythical beast but a very real threat, manifesting as assassination plots and treacherous conspiracies, often from within the very court you command. Imagine the constant paranoia. You are a living god, yet you are surrounded by mortals, each with their own ambitions, their own grievances, and their own capacity for malice. While the vast majority of your subjects revere you, those closest to you, your own family members, ambitious viziers, disgruntled priests, or even overlooked concubines, might see your divine authority as an obstacle to their own power. It's like being the most popular kid in school, but realizing that half your friends are secretly vying for your lunch money, and the other half are planning to switch your locker combination. Except the stakes are, your life and the stability of an entire empire. The threat of usurpation is ever present. A pharaoh's death, especially an unexpected one, could plunge Egypt into chaos. Therefore, any move to hasten that death, to To replace you with a more amenable puppet, or to seize power outright, is the ultimate act of treason. These plots rarely come from external enemies. They fester within the gilded walls of the palace, nurtured by whispers and secret alliances. One of the most infamous examples, as we touched upon earlier, is the harem conspiracy against Ramesses III. You might recall the unsettling details. A secondary wife, Tai, conspiring with high-ranking officials and magicians to assassinate you, the pharaoh, and place her son, Pentawere, on the throne. The discovery of this plot, as revealed in the Turin judicial papyrus, paints a chilling picture of the lengths to which members of your own household would go. Magicians were employed to create wax figures of you, the pharaoh, and to cast spells to weaken your bodyguards. Poisons were considered. The very people entrusted with your well-being were actively plotting your demise. Imagine the horror of discovering that your trusted cupbearer, or even a close relative, was secretly working against you. It's like finding out your favorite royal cat has been secretly plotting to replace you with a less demanding ruler. The punishments for those involved in such plots were swift and brutal, reflecting the severity of the crime. Treason against the divine pharaoh was not just a legal offense. It was a sacrilege, an affront to the gods themselves. Conspirators were often forced to commit suicide or executed in gruesome ways, their names sometimes erased from monuments. A chilling practice known as damnatio memoria, designed to wipe them from historical and eternal memory. Because if you don't exist in the historical record, you don't exist in the afterlife. Talk about a permanent timeout. Another potential source of threat comes from your own royal children, particularly those who are not the designated heir. While your great royal wife's son holds the primary claim, ambition knows no bounds. A secondary wife might push her own son forward, hoping to capitalize on a moment of weakness or dissatisfaction with the chosen successor. Imagine the pressure on these runner-up princes, living in the shadow of their favored siblings, constantly aware of their proximity to power, yet forever denied it, unless they take drastic action. It's a recipe for simmering resentment, often encouraged by their mothers who seek to elevate their own status. The role of the vizier, your chief minister, is also a double-edged sword. While theoretically your most loyal servant, a vizier wields immense power, controlling the bureaucracy, justice system, and often the royal treasury. A corrupt or overly ambitious vizier could, in theory, manipulate events, isolate you from crucial information, or even instigate a coup. You must constantly assess their loyalty, ensuring they remain firmly within your divine orbit. It's like having a highly competent coup, but you're never quite sure if they're subtly siphoning funds or planning a hostile takeover. A quirky historical detail, though not a direct assassination plot, is the mysterious disappearance or sudden demise of pharaohs whose reigns abruptly ended without clear explanation in the historical records. While often attributed to illness or accident, the possibility of foul play, especially in the turbulent periods of Egyptian history, always looms. Historians still argue whether the lack of explicit records detailing internal plots means they were rare, or simply that the Egyptians were incredibly effective at suppressing and erasing evidence of such heinous acts against their divine ruler. The absence of evidence, in this case, doesn't necessarily mean the absence of a crime. It just means the cover-up was probably pharaoh-level good. Even the priesthood, while ostensibly your divine allies, could become a threat. The high priests of powerful cults, like those of Ammon at Thebes, amassed immense wealth and influence. If their power rivaled yours, or if they felt your rule deviated from divine will, they could incite unrest or even support a rival claimant to the throne. The balance between secular and religious power was always delicate, and a pharaoh who alienated the priesthood risked losing not just their support, but potentially their lives. It's like navigating a corporate board meeting where half the members can also conjure plagues. Very tricky. To guard against such treachery, you rely on a network of spies and informants within your court. You cultivate loyalty through patronage, fear, and the pervasive belief in your divine retribution. You might employ royal cupbearers, hairdressers, or even musicians as covert eyes and ears, listening for whispers of disloyalty. No one is above suspicion, and the climate of distrust, however subtle, is a constant undercurrent in your daily life. So, while you present an image of serene, unassailable divinity, deep down, you are always aware of the venomous possibility of the serpent lurking in your own garden. You taste your food for poison, your guards are ever present, and your trust is a precious commodity, rarely given fully. It's a lonely pinnacle, this throne, and the disturbing reality is that the gravest threats often come not from distant lands, but from the very people who bow lowest before you. The constant threat of intrigue and the weighty responsibility of divine rule are enough to wear down even a god-king. But your existence as pharaoh isn't solely defined by solemn rituals and political machinations. Sometimes, a touch of the wild, a connection to the primal forces of nature, finds its way into your gilded cage. And for you, this often manifests in the form of a royal menagerie, a collection of exotic pets, some beautiful, some terrifying, and all carrying a deeper symbolic weight. But, as you'll soon discover, these beloved creatures often had a darker, more disturbing side to their presence in your palace. Imagine walking through a secluded courtyard within your palace complex, not to the cooing of pigeons, but to the low rumble of a lion, or the chattering of baboons, or perhaps the rustle of a giant cobra within its basket. These aren't just display animals, they are extensions of your power, symbolic representations of the wild forces you, as pharaoh, are believed to control and embody. Lions, for example, were particularly favored. The lion was a symbol of strength, ferocity, and kingship, often associated with the sun god Ra and the war goddess Sekhmet. You might keep several lions within the palace grounds, perhaps even training them to accompany you on royal hunts or appear alongside you in battle. Imagine leading your chariots into battle with a majestic, roaring lion, trained to dispatch your enemies. It's certainly a unique form of intimidation. But caring for such magnificent predators required immense resources and expertise, and the occasional misunderstanding between a lion and a stable boy was probably an occupational hazard. Historians still argue whether these battle-trained lions were purely symbolic or truly participated in combat. But the idea of a royal lion on the battlefield certainly adds a disturbing edge to your kingly prowess. Then there are the baboons. These primates held a special religious significance, often associated with Thoth, the god of wisdom and writing. You might keep baboons as pets, admired for their intelligence and playful nature. Some depictions even show baboons participating in tasks like picking fruit or pouring wine, suggesting a surprising level of training. But let's be honest, even a trained baboon is still a wild animal. Imagine the occasional chaos, a baboon escaping its enclosure, swinging through the palace corridors, perhaps snatching a noble's wig or making off with a ceremonial piece of fruit. It adds a certain unpredictable charm to the divine life. And if you've ever tried to reason with a baboon, you know it's a futile exercise. Crocodiles, too, held a complex place in your royal menagerie, while feared as dangerous predators of the Nile, they were also revered as sacred animals, particularly associated with Sobek, the crocodile god. You might keep sacred crocodiles in temple pools, adorned with gold and fed prime cuts of meat, as living manifestations of the god. Imagine a grand temple with a serene pool where a massive, jewel-adorned crocodile basks, occasionally opening an eye to observe the offerings brought by priests. It's both a symbol of divine protection and a stark reminder of the dangerous forces you must appease. And you certainly wouldn't want to accidentally drop your royal scepter in that pool. That would be an awkward recovery mission. Birds of prey, particularly falcons and vultures, were also highly prized. The falcon, of course, is intrinsically linked to Horus, the very god you embody. You might keep magnificent falcons, trained for hunting or simply revered as living symbols of your divine connection. The sight of a falcon soaring high above your palace, casting its shadow, would be a potent reminder to your subjects of your celestial link. Beyond these more prominent examples, your menagerie might include a fascinating array of other creatures. Gazelles, perhaps kept in palace gardens for their grace. Monkeys of various species, prized for their antics. And even exotic animals, brought as tributes from foreign lands, like giraffes or ostriches, creating a truly unique and diverse collection. It's like having the world's first zoo, but with far fewer safety regulations and a much higher chance of your breakfast getting stolen by a primate. But the disturbing aspect of this royal menagerie lies not just in the potential dangers of keeping wild animals in close proximity. It also reveals a darker side of the pharaoh's power and the ancient Egyptians' relationship with the animal kingdom. Many of these animals, especially those deemed sacred, were eventually mummified after their death, just like humans, and buried in vast catacombs. Imagine rows upon rows of mummified crocodiles, cats, ibis, and baboons, silent testaments to the intertwining of animal life, death, and divinity. This practice, while seeming affectionate, also highlights a certain utilitarian aspect to their sacred status. They were not just pets. They were vessels for the divine, and their bodies, too, had to be preserved for the afterlife. Furthermore, the acquisition of some of these animals could be brutal. Wild animals were captured, often violently, for your menagerie or for sacrificial purposes. While revered, their lives were ultimately at your disposal, reflecting your absolute control over both the human and animal realms. You are the master of creation, and that includes its wildest inhabitants. A quirky tidbit that brings the disturbance closer to home. Some pharaohs were known to have pet hyenas. Yes, hyenas. While seemingly counterintuitive given their reputation. Ancient Egyptian art sometimes depicts tamed hyenas, suggesting they might have been kept for hunting or simply as exotic companions. Imagine the distinctive cackle echoing through your royal chambers. It's certainly a conversation starter at a divine dinner party, if you could get them to sit still. Oh, that's just George. He gets a bit giggly when he smells roast gazelle. The royal menagerie, therefore, is more than just a collection of animals for your amusement. It is a living, breathing extension of your royal authority and your divine connection. It demonstrates your ability to tame the wild, to bring order to chaos, and to command the very forces of nature. It's a subtle yet powerful display of your status as the ultimate ruler, not just of people, but of all creatures within your dominion. And while some of these pets might offer companionship in your lonely, exalted existence, their presence is ultimately another meticulously curated aspect of your performance as the living god, a constant reminder of the raw, untamed power that you, the pharaoh, both embody and control. After a day filled with demanding rituals, the subtle threats of courtly intrigue, and the occasional unpredictable antics of your royal hyenas, you finally retreat to your private chambers. Yet, even in the stillness of night, your existence as pharaoh remains profoundly disturbed, for your sleep is not merely a period of rest. It is a sacred state, a journey into the spiritual realm, where dreams are considered divine messages, portents, and crucial insights into the will of the gods. For you, the pharaoh, even your slumber is a public service, a conduit for cosmic communication. Imagine drifting off to sleep on your elevated bed, perhaps surrounded by protective amulets and images of benevolent deities. The air is cool, perhaps scented with frankincense, but your mind, accustomed to the constant hum of responsibility, rarely fully disengages. Instead, it enters the enigmatic world of dreams. And in ancient Egypt, dreams were far more than just random neurological firings. They were believed to be windows into the duat, direct communications from the gods, or even glimpses into the future. It's like having a celestial Wi-Fi connection that only works when you're unconscious. Upon waking, your first duty might not be to dress, but to summon your royal dream interpreters. These specialized priests, highly skilled in the arcane art of oniromancy, would listen intently as you recounted the visions of your night. Every symbol, every recurring motif, every fleeting image in your dream would be meticulously analyzed. A dream of an overflowing Nile might be a divine blessing for a bountiful harvest. A dream of a crumbling temple could be a dire warning of impending disaster or a sign that a specific deity requires more fervent attention. It's like having a therapist, but instead of discussing your childhood, you're trying to figure out if that dream about a giant hippopotamus means you're going to win a battle or just need to cut back on late-night snacks. Your dreams, especially, are considered of paramount importance because you are the Pharaoh, the living god. Your subconscious mind is believed to be uniquely attuned to the divine will. Therefore, an auspicious dream can strengthen your resolve, justify a political decision, or even instigate a new building project. Conversely, a disturbing dream could lead to intensified rituals, desperate sacrifices, or even changes in military strategy. Your pillow talk literally influences state policy. Consider the dream stele of Thutmose IV. This famous inscription, located between the paws of the Great Sphinx at Giza, recounts a dream the young prince Thutmose had while napping in the shadow of the Sphinx. In the dream, the Sphinx, representing the god Hormukhet-Khepri-Ratum, spoke to him, promising him the throne of Egypt if he cleared the sand away from its buried body. Thutmose fulfilled his vow, becoming pharaoh, and commemorated the event with the stele. Whether the dream was genuine or a clever piece of political propaganda designed to legitimize his rule, historians still argue about this. It perfectly illustrates the profound importance placed on pharaonic dreams as divine mandates. It's the ultimate god told me to do it excuse, and it worked wonders for his career. The ancient Egyptians even had dream books, manuals filled with interpretations of various dream symbols. These popular texts, used by common people as well as royalty, offered guidance on deciphering dream omens, while your royal dream interpreters might use more sophisticated methods. These books reveal a pervasive cultural belief in the power of dreams. You can imagine the priests flipping through a giant papyrus scroll. A dream about a crocodile. That means, either good fortune or you're about to be eaten. Let's consult the stars for clarification. A particularly quirky and disturbing aspect of pharaonic sleep could be the practice of ritual sleep or incubation in certain temple complexes. If you, the pharaoh, or a member of your family was gravely ill or seeking a specific divine revelation, you might perform a ritual where you would sleep within a sacred precinct, hoping to receive a healing dream or a direct message from a deity. Imagine sleeping in a dark temple chamber, surrounded by ancient statues, the scent of incense lingering in the air, hoping for a divine visitation. It's certainly a unique way to try and get medical advice, and probably not conducive to a restful night. The pharaoh's sleep was also protected by elaborate rituals and incantations performed by priests. Amulets might be placed around your bed, and specific spells recited to ward off malevolent spirits that could infiltrate your dreams or harm you in your vulnerable state. Your well-being, even in slumber, was critical to the cosmic balance. It's like having a spiritual bodyguard detail that works overtime while you're catching Z. Single quotes is dot. Moreover, the quality of your sleep, or lack thereof, could be a reflection of your mature adherence to cosmic order. A troubled, nightmare-ridden sleep might indicate that you were out of sync with the gods, or that chaos was brewing in the land. This added another layer of pressure to an already burdened existence. You couldn't even escape the weight of your crown in your dreams. This constant scrutiny of your inner life, even your unconscious thoughts, means that there is very little truly private about being the pharaoh. Your dreams are not just your own. They are part of the public domain, interpreted and utilized to guide the destiny of Egypt. Your restless nights, your vivid nightmares, or your blissful visions are all woven into the grand tapestry of your divine rule. You are the sacred dreamer, and the fate of an empire rests upon the whisperings of your subconscious. Sweet dreams, Pharaoh. They might just decide the next war or the price of grain. Having explored the strange world of your divine dreams, you now face the stark reality of your waking power, particularly when it comes to maintaining order within your vast kingdom. For you, the pharaoh, are not just a living god and a provider of sustenance. You are also the ultimate arbiter of justice, the supreme lawgiver, and the dispenser of divine retribution. Your word is law, your judgment absolute, and your fury, when roused, can be swift and devastating. Welcome to the disturbing world of pharaonic justice. Imagine a grand hall within your palace, filled with supplicants, scribes, and legal officials. You sit on your throne, perhaps adorned in a special regalia befitting your role as judge, the urious cobra on your brow silently poised to strike. You are the ultimate court of appeal, the final authority in all matters, from the most minor dispute over land ownership to the gravest acts of treason. This isn't just a legal system, it's a divine mandate. Your judgments are believed to reflect Mat, the cosmic order, and therefore carry the weight of divine will. To challenge your ruling is to challenge the gods themselves. Your chief legal official is the vizier, a figure of immense power who presides over the daily administration of justice. He oversees the various local courts and magistrates throughout Egypt, ensuring that your laws are enforced. But any case of significant importance, or any appeal, eventually makes its way to you. You hear petitions, examine evidence presented by scribes, and deliver pronouncements that shape the lives, and often the deaths, of your subjects. It's like being the Supreme Court, the Department of Justice, and the Divine Executioner, all in one. The principles of ancient Egyptian justice, while perhaps seemingly harsh by modern standards, were rooted in the concept of Mat. Truth, fairness, and cosmic harmony were the ideals. Witnesses were called, oaths were sworn by the gods, and records were meticulously kept. However, the system was far from perfect. Corruption, bias, and the influence of powerful officials certainly existed. Despite the ideal, and, of course, your divine judgment was paramount, overriding any earthly legal precedent when it came to punishments. They could be brutal and public, designed not just to punish the individual, but to serve as a deterrent and a powerful demonstration of your absolute authority. For lesser crimes, offenders might face physical beatings with a rod, forced labor, or fines. Imagine being publicly flogged for stealing a loaf of bread, while the divine pharaoh's image looks down from a nearby temple wall, silently assenting to your suffering. For more severe offenses, such as theft from a temple, sacrilege, or grave robbery, a particularly heinous crime. As it disturbed the eternal rest of the deceased, the penalties escalated dramatically. Mutilation, such as cutting off hands or noses, was a known punishment, though the frequency and exact application varied. This wasn't just physical disfigurement, it was a permanent mark of disgrace, often rendering the offender unable to perform certain tasks and isolating them from society. It's a reminder that ancient justice often sought to create a lasting public spectacle. The ultimate punishment, of course, was death. This could be carried out in various ways: decapitation, impalement, or burning alive. particularly for crimes against the state, or for actions deemed profoundly blasphemous. Being burned, for an ancient Egyptian, was especially terrifying, as it destroyed the body, preventing the mummification necessary for the afterlife. This meant not just physical death, but eternal annihilation, a complete erasure from existence. Talk about a double whammy. Imagine the visceral fear this instilled in your subjects. Your wrath was not merely mortal, it had eternal consequences, a particularly disturbing aspect of pharaonic justice, especially in cases of high treason or conspiracy like the harem conspiracy we previously discussed, was the concept of forced suicide. Instead of public execution, high-ranking conspirators might be given the privilege of taking their own lives, often by poison. This maintained a semblance of dignity for the family, avoiding the public spectacle of execution and perhaps allowing for some form of burial, though often still with desecration of the body. It was a macabre mercy from the pharaoh, a way to avoid divine punishment in the afterlife for those who committed the act, but still ensure their earthly demise. Historians still argue whether those accused were genuinely given a choice, or if forced suicide was a euphemism for a more private execution. But the outcome was the same: silence and erasure. Another quirky tidbit that reveals the depth of your power over life and death. You, the pharaoh, also had the power of divine pardon. While rare and usually exercised only for specific reasons, you could, theoretically, commute a sentence, sparing a life or reducing a punishment. This act of mercy would be seen as a direct manifestation of your benevolent side, further cementing your image as a just and compassionate ruler, capable of both divine retribution and divine grace. It's like being the ultimate celestial parole board, where your decision is final and absolute. The legal system was not just about punishment, it also included a form of divine oracle. In some cases, particularly in later periods, disputes could be taken before a statue of a god, where priests would interpret nods or movements of the statue as the god's judgment. While this wasn't you directly, it reflected the pervasive belief that divine will underpinned all justice, and that ultimately, all judgments flowed from the divine realm, with you as its chief representative on earth. So, as you preside over court or sign a decree that will send a criminal to their agonizing fate, you do so with the full weight of your divine authority. Your judgments are not mere legal pronouncements. They are extensions of Mat, maintaining the cosmic order that defines Egypt. The fear you instill is not just fear of a mortal king, but fear of a living God whose wrath can extend beyond the grave. It's a heavy burden, this power over life and death, but one you wield without hesitation, because for the stability of Egypt, your divine fury is sometimes the only answer. Having dispensed justice with divine authority and navigated the intricate web of internal threats, your gaze now turns beyond the fertile valley of the Nile to the vast, often hostile, world beyond Egypt's borders. For you, the pharaoh, are not merely the ruler of a single nation. You are the supreme diplomat, the shrewd strategist, and the conquering warrior. Your disturbed life is as much defined by foreign affairs, by the delicate dance of diplomacy, the brutal reality of warfare, and the relentless pursuit of imperial ambitions, as it is by internal governance. Imagine receiving envoys from distant lands in your grand audience hall. They approach you with profound reverence, prostrating themselves before your divine majesty. They bring exotic tributes, gold from Nubia, incense from Punt, timber from Lebanon, rare animals from the African interior. These aren't just gifts. They are acknowledgements of your supreme power, tangible proof of Egypt's economic and political reach. You listen to their petitions, weigh their requests for alliances or trade agreements, and issue decrees that will shape the balance of power across the ancient Near East. It's like being the head of the United Nations, but with significantly more bowing, more gold, and the constant underlying threat of unleashing your divine army. Diplomacy in the ancient world was a high-stakes game. You exchange elaborate letters with other great kings, the Hittites, the Mitanni, the Assyrians, the Babylonians, addressing them as brother, while secretly maneuvering for strategic advantage. These diplomatic correspondences, often inscribed on clay tablets in Akkadian, the lingua franca of the ancient Near East, reveal a world of complex alliances, marriage proposals, requests for gold, and subtle threats. You carefully consider the implications of every marriage alliance for your harem, every trade deal for your treasury, and every border dispute for your security. Your intelligence network extends beyond Egypt, with spies and informants providing crucial insights into the strengths and weaknesses of your rivals. But diplomacy, however refined, often gives way to warfare. When persuasion fails, or when vital resources are at stake, you, the pharaoh, become the supreme commander of Egypt's formidable army. You are not just a symbolic leader. You lead from the front, often depicted in battle reliefs, personally vanquishing your enemies. Imagine donning your ceremonial war crown, the Kapresh or blue crown, climbing into your chariot and leading thousands of highly disciplined infantrymen and skilled archers into the chaos of battle. The roar of the charging chariots, the clash of bronze weapons, the cries of the wounded. This is the brutal reality of defending and expanding your empire. Your military campaigns are not just about conquest. They are about maintaining Mat. On a grand scale, pushing back the forces of chaos, Isfit, represented by foreign enemies. Every victory is attributed directly to your divine prowess, a testament to the gods' favor. You plunder wealth, capture prisoners of war, who are then brought back as slaves or integrated into Egyptian society, and secure vital trade routes and resources. The spoils of war fill your treasuries, fund your grand building projects, and further enhance your divine prestige. It's an economic strategy, a theological imperative, and a very violent game of risk, all rolled into one. Consider the military might of Egypt. You command not just your native Egyptian troops, but often battalions of foreign mercenaries, Nubians, Libyans, and Shirdan warriors who fight for your gold and your glory. Your army is well organized, with specialized units of archers, charioteers, and infantry. Training is rigorous, discipline strict. You visit your garrisons, inspect your troops, and review their readiness, ensuring that your divine will can be enforced with overwhelming force. The famous Battle of Kadesh, fought by Ramesses II against the Hittite Empire, is a prime example of pharaonic warfare. While Ramesses II famously depicted it as a glorious solo victory against impossible odds, historians still argue whether it was a decisive Egyptian victory or more of a strategic stalemate, with both sides claiming success. Regardless, it illustrates the scale of conflict and the personal involvement of the pharaoh. Ramesses II personally led his forces, nearly getting encircled, before rallying his troops and turning the tide. Imagine the adrenaline, the sheer terror and exhilaration of leading thousands of men into such a brutal melee, with your divine reputation, and indeed your life, hanging in the balance. Your imperial ambitions extend beyond mere defense. You seek to expand Egypt's influence, creating a vast empire that stretches from Nubia in the south to the Levant in the north. This involves establishing control over vassal states, demanding tribute, and building Egyptian garrisons and administrative centers in conquered territories. These territories provide resources, buffer zones against other powers, and prestige. Every conquered city adds another feather to your divine headdress. A particularly disturbing, though perhaps strategically sound, aspect of your foreign policy is the practice of taking royal children from conquered lands as hostages, or, more euphemistically, as wards to be educated in the Egyptian court. These young princes and princesses would live in your palace, absorbing Egyptian culture, language, and loyalties. The idea was that when they eventually returned to rule their homelands, They would be culturally Egyptianized and loyal vassals, ensuring stability. It's a clever form of soft power, but also a rather cruel form of political coercion, taking children from their families and immersing them in an alien culture. Imagine being one of those children, torn from your home, constantly reminded of your subordinate status, even while living in luxury. Another quirky tidbit that reveals the depth of diplomatic relations: the exchange of royal gifts. Beyond mere tribute, pharaohs and other great kings would send each other lavish gifts: gold statues, exotic animals, fine chariots, and elaborate jewelry. These gifts were not just tokens of friendship. They were demonstrations of wealth, power, and generosity, subtly reminding the recipient of your superior status. Imagine unpacking a crate to find a live giraffe. It certainly beats a fruit basket as a housewarming gift. Your role in foreign affairs is therefore a constant balancing act between projecting overwhelming power and engaging in subtle negotiation. You are the defender of your borders, the expander of your empire, and the grand architect of international relations. Every diplomatic overture, every military campaign, every captured prisoner reinforces your divine authority and ensures the continued dominance of Egypt. It's a heavy mantle, this international stage, but one you wear with the unshakable confidence of a god. Section 14. Having successfully navigated the complexities of foreign policy and the brutal realities of warfare, you now shift your divine attention to a more intimate, yet equally revealing, aspect of your life: the very sustenance that fuels your divine body. Your divine cuisine, the pharaoh's diet and eating habits, are far removed from the simple fare of your subjects. They reflect not just your immense wealth and access to the finest ingredients, but also deeply ingrained religious beliefs, social hierarchies, and symbolic purity. You don't just eat, you consume the essence of Egypt. Imagine stepping into your royal dining chamber. It's not a cozy kitchen nook, but a grand hall, perhaps open to a cool breeze from an inner garden. Attendants, specifically trained for your service, move with silent efficiency. The air is filled with the tantalizing aromas of roasted meats, fresh bread, and fragrant spices. Your meals are not merely about satisfying hunger. They are elaborate affairs, often prepared by a vast retinue of chefs, butchers, bakers, and brewers. You have an entire culinary army at your disposal. The cornerstone of the ancient Egyptian diet was bread and beer, and while your subjects relied on them for basic sustenance, your versions were of the highest quality. Your bread, made from finely sifted wheat flour, would be light and palatable, a stark contrast to the gritty, coarse loaves eaten by the common people. Remember those dental issues. Your beer, brewed with meticulous care, would be richer, perhaps flavored with dates or honey, and certainly far more potent than the watery brew consumed by laborers. It's like having access to a 5-star bakery and microbrewery 24/7. But your diet extends far beyond these staples. As pharaoh, you enjoy an incredibly diverse and rich array of foods. Meat is a regular feature, unlike for most Egyptians who consumed it sparingly. You feast on roasted oxen, succulent gazelles caught during royal hunts, plump ducks, geese, and even various fish from the Nile. Each type of meat might be prepared with different spices and herbs, roasted to perfection, or stewed into rich, aromatic dishes. Imagine biting into a perfectly tender piece of Nile perch, seasoned with coriander and cumin. It's a far cry from the dried fish of the common folk. Fresh fruits and vegetables are also abundant on your table. Figs, dates, grapes, pomegranates, melons, and a variety of berries provide sweetness and refreshment. Vegetables like lettuce, leeks, onions, garlic, and lentils accompany your meat dishes. These aren't just for flavor. Many were also believed to have medicinal properties or symbolic significance. A crisp, cool lettuce leaf on a hot day feels particularly divine. The Pharaoh's table also features an abundance of honey, Egypt's primary sweetener, used in desserts, drinks, and even as a preservative. You might enjoy pastries sweetened with honey, or a refreshing drink made from fruit juices and honey. Think of it as ancient Egyptian ice cream, but without the dairy. Beyond the sheer variety, the presentation of your food is also a form of art. Dishes are arranged beautifully on ornate plates, sometimes made of alabaster or precious metals. The act of eating is a deliberate, almost ritualistic performance. Even in your private dining chambers, you eat with a certain decorum, perhaps using your fingers, but always with a regal grace that befits your divine status. Now, for a quirky, and perhaps slightly disturbing, tidbit about royal dining: the presence of food tasters. Given the constant threat of assassination and poisoning, a concern we discussed earlier, it was standard practice for your food to be tasted by trusted servants before it reached your royal lips. Imagine their nerve-wracking job. Every meal, a potential death sentence. It's like a very high-stakes, life-or-death quality control system. While this practice offered a layer of protection, it also served as a stark reminder of the ever-present danger that permeated your existence, even at mealtimes. You might enjoy a delicious plate of roasted quail, knowing that someone else just risked their life for your culinary pleasure. Religious beliefs heavily influenced your diet. Certain animals might be forbidden at specific times, or certain foods might be reserved for religious festivals. You, as Pharaoh, are expected to uphold these dietary laws, demonstrating your piety and adherence to divine mandates. For example, pork was generally considered unclean and would not be found on your royal table. The lavishness of your meals also served as a public display of wealth and power. While you might eat privately most of the time, grand banquets would occasionally be held for high-ranking officials and foreign dignitaries. These feasts were spectacles of abundance, showcasing Egypt's prosperity and your generosity as its divine ruler. Imagine rows of tables laden with every conceivable delicacy, musicians playing, dancers performing, and the air thick with the scent of roasted meat and fine wine. It's a propaganda feast designed to impress and awe. The consumption of wine was also a mark of royal status. While beer was the drink of the masses, fine wine, produced from royal vineyards in the Delta, was a luxury reserved for the elite. You would drink rich, sweet wines, perhaps flavored with spices or resins, stored in tall, elegant amphorae. Each amphora would be sealed with a clay stopper and labeled with the year of production, the vineyard, and the name of the pharaoh under whose reign it was made. You might even have your own wine cellar, meticulously managed by a royal sommelier. Historians still argue whether the pharaohs' elaborate diets truly contributed to their documented health issues, or if modern interpretations of ancient dietary habits are overly simplistic. But it's clear that while your cuisine is a testament to your divine privilege, it also reflects the complex interplay of religion, power, and the ever-present shadow of mortal vulnerability. So, as you partake in your next meal, savoring the rich flavors and the meticulous preparation, remember that every bite is not just sustenance, but another thread in the intricate tapestry of your disturbed, yet undeniably opulent, royal life. With your divine belly full of exotic delicacies, and the echoes of diplomatic exchanges still lingering in the grand halls, your attention now shifts to a subtle, yet immensely powerful, force within your kingdom, the priesthood. For you, the pharaoh, are the supreme high priest of all Egypt, the living embodiment of divine worship. Yet, the very institutions dedicated to the gods, the vast, wealthy, and politically influential temples can also cast a long shadow over your throne, creating a delicate balance between your absolute royal power and their burgeoning religious authority. Imagine the sheer scale of the priestly establishment. From the colossal temple complexes of Karnak and Luxor to the thousands of smaller shrines scattered throughout Egypt, The temples own vast tracts of land, employ legions of scribes, artisans, farmers, and administrators, and possess immense treasuries filled with gold, silver, and precious offerings. They are, in essence, independent economic and political powerhouses within your kingdom, rivaling even your own royal estates. You are the symbolic head of this spiritual empire, but the day-to-day management, and indeed much of the real power, rests in the hands of the high priests. The high priests of Ammon at Thebes, in particular, often wielded enormous influence. Amen, as the chief state god during many dynasties, commanded immense wealth and veneration. The high priest of Ammon was not just a religious leader, he was a political force, capable of advising you, influencing your decisions, and, at times, even subtly challenging your authority. Imagine having a chief spiritual advisor, who also controls a massive portion of the national economy and commands legions of loyal followers. It's like having a pope who also owns half the country's GDP. Your relationship with the priesthood is a complex dance of mutual dependence and underlying tension. You rely on them to perform the daily rituals in the temples, to maintain the cults of the gods, and to ensure the flow of divine blessings upon Egypt. Without their meticulous performance of sacred rites, the cosmic order would unravel, and your own divine power would be undermined. They legitimize your rule through religious doctrine and public ceremony. You, in turn, endow them with gifts, land, and resources, sponsoring their building projects and affirming their privileged status. It's a reciprocal agreement, where you scratch their divine back, and they scratch yours. However, this dependence can breed arrogance. As their wealth and influence grew, some powerful high priests might begin to see themselves as almost equal to, or even superior to, the pharaoh. They might issue their own decrees, amass private armies, or even intermarry with royal or noble families, further consolidating their power. This presents a direct challenge to your absolute authority. How do you, the living God, tolerate another entity wielding such immense power within your divine domain? One way you assert control is through appointing loyal individuals to key priestly positions. By selecting a favored son, a trusted vizier, or a loyal general to be the high priest of Ammon, you can ensure that the spiritual power remains aligned with your royal will. This sometimes meant circumventing traditional lines of succession within the priesthood, a move that could cause resentment, but one necessary to maintain your grip on power. It's like a corporate takeover, but with more incense and ancient chants. Consider the example of Akhenaten, that revolutionary pharaoh who attempted to enforce monotheism by elevating the Aten, the sun disk, as the sole supreme deity. His radical reforms, particularly his dismantling of the cult of Amun and the confiscation of its vast wealth, were a direct assault on the power of the Amun priesthood. He literally moved the capital to a new city, Akhetaten, modern Amarna, to distance himself from the entrenched power of the Theban priests. While his motives are still debated by historians, was it genuine religious fervor or a shrewd political move to curb the priest's power? His actions clearly demonstrate the potential for direct confrontation between royal power and religious authority. And as you know, his reforms were ultimately reversed, and the power of Amun reasserted itself after his death, highlighting the deep roots of priestly influence. The priests also acted as interpreters of divine will through oracles. If you faced a difficult decision, military campaign, a succession issue, or a legal dispute, you might consult an oracle of a powerful god. Priests would present questions to the god's cult statue, and movements or specific pronouncements would be interpreted as the god's answer. While seemingly deferring to divine will, these oracles could also be subtly manipulated by the priests to advance their own agendas. Imagine asking the oracle if you should invade Nubia, and the priests subtly guiding the divine answer towards what benefits their temple's interests. It's a clever way to exert influence, without directly challenging the pharaoh's authority. A quirky tidbit that highlights the intricate relationship: some pharaohs actually served as part-time priests in certain cults, performing specific rituals themselves. This wasn't just symbolic. It allowed you to directly connect with the divine power of those deities and to reinforce your role as the ultimate bridge between humanity and the gods. Imagine the supreme ruler of Egypt meticulously cleaning a cult statue or offering incense in a small, private shrine. It's a glimpse into the hands-on nature of your divine duties, ensuring that even the most powerful priests knew you were still the ultimate spiritual authority. Historians still argue whether the growing power of the priesthood ultimately led to the decline of central royal authority in later periods, particularly during the Third Intermediate Period, when the high priests of Ammon sometimes ruled parts of Egypt as effectively independent kings. But in your era, you constantly strive to maintain the delicate balance, keeping the priests close enough to legitimize your rule, but distant enough to prevent them from overshadowing your divine authority. The shadow of the priests is a constant, cool presence in your gilded halls. Their chants echo in the distance. Their wealth is immense, and their influence pervasive. You rely on them, but you also watch them, ever vigilant, ensuring that their religious power remains subservient to your royal will. Because while they serve the gods, you are a god. And that distinction, however subtle, is what maintains your disturbing, yet absolute reign. Having navigated the intricate power dynamics with the omnipresent priesthood, your divine duties now call you beyond the confines of your palace and the capital. For you, the pharaoh, are not a static deity to be worshipped from afar. You are a living, breathing manifestation of the gods who must be seen, revered, and felt by your subjects across the entire land. This necessitates the grand spectacle of the royal road trip, sacred journeys, and public appearances that serve as crucial affirmations of your divine rule, reinforcing the bond between you and your vast populace. Imagine the immense logistical undertaking of organizing such a journey. It's not simply hopping on a chariot and zipping across the desert. Your procession is a mobile city, a moving demonstration of Egypt's wealth and your divine power. Thousands of people accompany you, your royal family, high officials, scribes, priests carrying sacred barks, portable shrines for cult statues, soldiers forming your formidable guard, servants, cooks, and countless laborers to set up encampments. You are essentially taking the entire palace on tour. It's like planning a global concert tour for a rock star. But your stage is the entire Nile Valley, and your fan base believes you control the sun. Your journey often begins with an elaborate departure from the capital, announced by trumpets and the roar of the crowd. You might travel by royal barge down the Nile, a magnificent vessel adorned with gold and intricate carvings. Its sails emblazoned with your royal cartouche. Imagine gliding smoothly down the ancient river, the banks lined with cheering crowds, their faces upturned, eager for a glimpse of their living god. The rhythmic chanting of priests on deck, the glint of sun on polished metal, the sheer spectacle of it all. It's designed to inspire awe and unwavering devotion. Your presence is believed to bless the waters, ensuring the prosperity of the land you pass through. Alternatively, you might travel by chariot or on a specially constructed palanquin, a gilded litter carried by strong bearers, allowing your subjects a clearer view of your divine person. The dust of the road, the heat, the constant motion, these are minor discomforts you must endure with stoic, divine composure. You wave a hand, perhaps, or offer a silent blessing, acknowledging the adoration of your people without ever breaking character. You're always on, always performing, even when your back aches from sitting upright on that rigid throne for hours. The purpose of these royal journeys is multifaceted. Firstly, they are about demonstrating your omnipresence and authority by visiting provincial capitals, inspecting garrisons, and presiding over local festivals. You remind everyone that your divine rule extends to every corner of Egypt, not just the bustling capital. You are the unifying force, binding Upper and Lower Egypt into one cohesive realm. Secondly, these journeys are crucial for religious duties. You visit important temple sites, participating in grand ceremonies, reaffirming your role as the supreme high priest. You might oversee the dedication of new temple additions, offer rich gifts to local cults, or lead processions carrying the statues of local deities. Your interaction with these local gods and their priests further solidifies your spiritual legitimacy and ensures the continued blessings for those regions. Imagine performing a complex ritual in a remote desert temple, the ancient stones echoing with your chants, the local populace mesmerized by your divine presence. A quirky detail about these royal road trips is the concept of royal kiosks or temporary chapels. Along important processional routes, temporary structures were sometimes erected where your sacred bark could rest, or where you could offer prayers and receive petitions. These ephemeral structures, though temporary, reinforced the sacred nature of your journey and your divine accessibility, even if that accessibility was carefully managed. It's like having pop-up shops for divinity, appearing wherever the pharaoh goes. These journeys also serve a practical administrative purpose. You receive reports from local governors, resolve disputes, inspect granaries, and review public works projects. You might personally mediate a conflict between two warring nomarchs' provincial governors, or decide on the allocation of resources for a new irrigation canal. It's a direct form of governance, allowing you to bypass layers of bureaucracy and connect, albeit formally, with your regional administrators. This first-hand knowledge of your kingdom is invaluable for maintaining control and identifying potential areas of unrest. The logistics of feeding and housing your enormous retinue on these journeys are staggering. Temporary camps, often resembling small cities, would be erected, complete with tents, kitchens, and latrines. Water and food supplies would be meticulously planned and transported. Security would be paramount, with military escorts ensuring your safety against bandits or disgruntled elements. You might sleep in an elaborate royal tent, a portable version of your palace chambers, complete with all the necessary comforts, even in the middle of the desert. Consider the sensory overload for the average Egyptian peasant when your divine procession arrived. The dazzling sight of gold and precious stones, the rhythmic beat of drums, the blast of trumpets, the scent of incense, the chanting of priests, and then, most powerfully, the silent, majestic presence of you, the living God. It was a moment of profound spiritual connection, a tangible link to the divine world. For many, it would be the only time in their lives they would ever witness their pharaoh, their ultimate provider and protector. Historians still argue whether the frequency and roots of these royal progresses were dictated more by religious calendar events or by strategic political necessities to maintain control over restive regions. But for you, the pharaoh, the distinction is blurred. Every journey is a sacred act, every appearance a reaffirmation of your divine right to rule. It's exhausting, certainly, but undeniably effective, as your procession makes its way across the dusty plains or down the life-giving river. You feel the adulation of your people, a tide of reverence that sweeps over you. It reinforces your profound responsibility and the unshakable belief that your presence alone sustains the cosmic order. This is not just a tour, it is a vital performance in the ongoing divine drama of ancient Egypt. With you, the pharaoh, in the starring, utterly disturbing role, having completed your grand tour, reaffirming your divine presence across the land, you return to the palace. Yet, the unseen forces that govern your world are not always manifested in grand processions or diplomatic envoys. Deep within the heart of ancient Egyptian society, and sometimes even within the very confines of your royal court, lay a profound belief in magic and the occult. For you, the pharaoh, while a living god, still engage with whispers of magic, consulting sorcerers and diviners, and even employing spells to ensure your power and protection. This intertwining of divinity and the arcane adds another layer of intrigue and disturbance to your royal existence. Imagine a private chamber within the palace, far from the bustling public courts. Here, you might consult with royal magicians or scribes specialized in esoteric knowledge. These aren't crude charlatans. They are learned individuals, often priests, who possess a deep understanding of ancient texts, astrological alignments, and the complex rituals believed to influence the gods and spirits. Their magic is not about parlor tricks. It's about manipulating cosmic forces for your benefit. It's like having a team of specialized mystical engineers on retainer, ready to reroute divine energy if needed. The purpose of this royal magic is multifaceted. Firstly, it's about protection. You, the pharaoh, are the most valuable asset in Egypt. Therefore, spells and amulets are regularly employed to ward off evil spirits. Malevolent magic like the dark sorcery suspected in the harem conspiracy, and the evil eye that could bring misfortune or illness. Imagine wearing a meticulously crafted amulet not just for beauty, but for its potent magical properties, believing it actively shields you from unseen dangers. Your entire sleeping chamber would be ritually consecrated, its doorways adorned with protective symbols and its walls inscribed with guardian spells. Secondly, magic is used for prophecy and divination. Before embarking on a major military campaign, making a crucial political decision, or even before a significant personal event, you might consult diviners to ascertain the auspiciousness of the timing or to gain insight into the future. This could involve interpreting celestial phenomena, animal behavior, or even reading omens in dreams. Remember your royal dream interpreters. It's like having a psychic hotline for crucial state decisions, but significantly more elaborate and with far less chance of being charged per minute. Thirdly, magic plays a vital role in healing. While your royal physicians attend to physical ailments, many illnesses were attributed to demonic possession or malevolent magic. In such cases, a royal magician or lector priest would perform specific incantations, rituals, and prepare magical potions or amulets designed to expel the evil influence and restore health. Imagine a priest reciting a long, rhythmic spell over your ailing body, tracing ancient symbols in the air, convinced he is banishing the very essence of disease. It's a blend of faith and ancient pharmacology, where the lines are delightfully blurry. A particularly disturbing, yet common, aspect of royal magic involves curses and countercurses. If a rival pharaoh or a disgruntled noble sought to harm you through dark magic, your own magicians would be tasked with identifying and neutralizing the malevolent spell, often by casting a more powerful countercurse. Some curse texts found in ancient Egypt were designed to afflict enemies with sickness, misfortune, or even death. Imagine a secret magical arms race, with pharaohs employing powerful sorcerers to launch invisible attacks against their rivals. It's the original cyber warfare, but with more mummified cat parts. The use of votive figures and magical papyri also reveals the depth of this belief. Small figures made of wax or clay, sometimes inscribed with the names of enemies, could be ritually destroyed or symbolically bound to incapacitate them. Magical papyri rolled scrolls covered in spells, incantations, and divine names were consulted for specific purposes, from protecting against snake bites to ensuring success in love. You might commission such papyri for your personal library, a collection of arcane wisdom to supplement your divine power, a quirky tidbit that demonstrates the pervasive nature of magic in daily life. Even royal life is the use of magical spoons and knives. These weren't for eating. They were ritual objects, often made of ivory or wood, carved with protective symbols like the Taurit hippopotamus goddess or base dwarf god. and used in childbirth rituals or to ward off evil from children. Imagine your great royal wife using such an object to ensure the safe delivery of your royal heir. It's a blend of practicality and powerful superstition, ensuring divine protection for the most vulnerable. Historians still argue whether the pharaoh's engagement with magic was a genuine expression of religious belief or a pragmatic tool of state control used to inspire awe and fear in their subjects. But for you, the pharaoh, the distinction likely doesn't exist. You are a divine being, but the cosmos is complex, and even gods benefit from a little extra magical assistance now. And then, your divine power is enhanced, protected, and guided by the skilled manipulation of these unseen forces. So, as you listen to the whispered incantations of your royal magician, or feel the cool touch of a newly consecrated amulet around your neck, you are reminded that your disturbing life is not just one of grand ceremonies and earthly power. It is also a life intimately intertwined with the supernatural, a constant dance between the visible and invisible worlds, where the whispers of magic are as real and influential as the decrees of your vizier. And sometimes you just need a really good spell to get a good night's sleep. You've harnessed the subtle energies of magic, secured your borders through diplomacy and war, and even plumbed the depths of your own divine dreams. Yet, for all your absolute power and efforts to ensure eternal life, there is one undeniable biological and political reality that looms large: the imperative of succession. Your disturbing life as pharaoh is inextricably linked to the process of passing on the scepter, whether to a chosen heir, a child pharaoh, or through the complexities of a regency. It's a delicate dance, fraught with potential for instability, intrigue, and even dynastic upheaval. Imagine, for a moment, the day you were born. Even then, your destiny was largely preordained. As the son of the great royal wife, your path to the throne was clear, but never entirely without challenge. From a very young age, you were educated for this role, steeped in religious doctrine, military strategy, and the intricacies of governance. Your upbringing was a constant preparation for the moment you would inherit the immense weight of the double crown. It's like being groomed for the world's most exclusive, high-stakes CEO position, where the onboarding process begins at birth. The process of designating an heir was crucial. Ideally, the eldest son of the great royal wife would inherit the throne. This ensured the purest lineage and the continuity of the divine bloodline. However, circumstances were rarely ideal. What if the great royal wife bore no sons? What if the chosen heir died prematurely? What if a secondary wife, fueled by ambition, managed to elevate her own son's claim? These were the anxieties that constantly simmered beneath the surface of your gilded existence. Consider the unsettling reality of child pharaohs. Sometimes, fate intervened, and you might find yourself inheriting the throne at a tender age. A mere child burdened with the immense responsibilities of a god-king. Imagine Tutankhamun ascending to power as a boy of 9 or 10. He would have been too young to rule effectively, meaning his early reign would be dominated by a regency council. This council, typically composed of powerful viziers, generals, and high priests like Ai and Horemheb in Tutankhamun's case, would govern in your name, making crucial decisions, leading armies, and managing the state bureaucracy. While theoretically acting on your behalf, these regents often wielded immense power, sometimes for decades, shaping the course of history and occasionally even sidelining the young pharaoh or subtly undermining their authority. It's like being the CEO of a huge company, but all the actual decisions are made by a committee of powerful, ambitious uncles. The period of a regency is particularly fraught with danger. The regents, having tasted true power, might be reluctant to relinquish it when the child pharaoh comes of age. Plots to keep the young ruler pliable, or even to eliminate them and seize the throne outright, were not uncommon. The mysterious death of Tutankhamun at a young age continues to fuel speculation about foul play, with some historians arguing whether he was murdered by ambitious regents seeking to maintain control. Historians still argue whether the regency system was primarily a stabilizing force or a breeding ground for power grabs. But for you, the child pharaoh, it's a terrifying tightrope walk between being a divine symbol and a vulnerable pawn. The death of a pharaoh, especially without a clear successor or a well-established adult heir, could plunge Egypt into a period known as the Intermediate Period. These were times of political fragmentation, civil war, and weakened central authority, often marked by multiple claimants to the throne and a decline in national prosperity. Your greatest fear, beyond your own eternal damnation, is leaving Egypt in such a state of chaos. Therefore, ensuring a smooth transition of power is paramount. A legacy almost as important as your grand building projects. Succession was not always determined solely by birthright. While the primary line was paramount, a pharaoh might designate a favored son from a secondary wife as a co-regent, or even adopt a general or a high priest as a successor if the direct line was weak. This required delicate political maneuvering, as it could provoke resentment among other potential claimants. The Queen Mother also played a crucial role, often acting as a key figure in legitimizing the succession and advising the young pharaoh. Her influence could be immense, particularly if she was a strong personality like Tai, mother of Akhenaten, or Mutemwea, mother of Amenhotep III. A quirky aspect of succession is the occasional, desperate attempt by a pharaoh to erase the memory of an unpopular or heretical predecessor. Akhenaten, for instance, systematically defaced the monuments and names of Amen and previous pharaohs who worshipped Amen. Later, after his death, his own name and those of his immediate successors, including Tutankhamun, were erased from the official king lists, an act of damnatio memoria designed to deny them their place in history and the afterlife. Imagine dedicating your entire life to building monuments and ensuring your eternal legacy, only for a later ruler to physically chisel your name off every stone. It's the ultimate historical diss, ensuring that you truly don't survive. The power of divine endorsement was also crucial. A new pharaoh, even if the legitimate heir, would seek to reinforce their claim by associating themselves with the gods, claiming direct divine favor, and performing elaborate coronation rituals. They would journey to temples, receive blessings from the priesthood, and display their regalia, all to prove to their subjects that their rule was ordained by the cosmos. It's a constant revalidation of your right to rule, a public relations campaign lasting your entire life. So, as you gaze upon your royal children, or consider the aging process that will inevitably lead to your demise, you understand that your legacy is not just about what you achieve in life, but how smoothly you ensure the transition of your divine power. The future of Egypt, the continuation of Mat, rests on the delicate, often dangerous, process of passing on the scepter. It is a silent battle, fought with whispers and political chess moves, with the ultimate prize being the seamless continuation of your divine dynasty, or the terrifying prospect of chaos. You have battled on the field, navigated the serpent-like intrigues of your court, and even dreamed divine prophecies. Now, having lived a life of unparalleled power and immense disturbance, you confront the final, inevitable transition, death. But for you, the pharaoh, death is not an ending. It is merely a passage, a transformation, the ultimate journey into the afterlife, meticulously prepared for through the elaborate and utterly fascinating ritual of mummification. This process is the culmination of your life's work, ensuring your eternal existence as a god among gods. Imagine the moment of your passing. The grief, while real, is quickly subsumed by the meticulous execution of ancient rites. Your death triggers a cascade of sacred protocols. Your body, the sacred vessel that housed a living god, must be preserved perfectly, for without its integrity, your Ka, life force, and Ba personality soul would have no anchor in the afterlife, condemning you to oblivion. This is where the highly specialized embalmers, who are also priests, step in. Their work, though gruesome by modern standards, is considered profoundly sacred. The process of mummification lasts for precisely 70 days, a period chosen to correspond with the cycle of the star, Sothis Sirius, and the movements of the god Osiris, with whom you will now identify. The first, and perhaps most disturbing, step is the extraction of the brain, through a long, hooked instrument inserted through the nostrils. The brain is painstakingly removed and discarded, as it was not considered important for the afterlife. Imagine the precise, careful work, the scraping sounds, the absolute concentration required. It's not a pretty sight, but entirely necessary for your eternal journey. Next, the internal organs are removed. A precise incision is made on your left flank, through which the lungs, stomach, intestines, and liver are carefully extracted. The heart, however, is left in place. This is crucial. The heart is considered the seat of intelligence, emotion, and memory, the vital organ that will be weighed against the feather of mat in the Hall of Two Truths during your judgment. It's like leaving the hard drive in place for your cosmic data. These removed organs are then carefully treated with natron, dried, and placed in individual canopic jars, each protected by one of the 4 sons of Horus: Doyamutef stomach, Kebsenuf intestines, Hapi lungs, and Imseti liver. These beautifully crafted jars, often made of alabaster or limestone with lids sculpted into human or animal heads, will be placed within your tomb, ensuring your organs accompany you to eternity. After the removal of the organs, your body is thoroughly cleaned and then packed with natron, a naturally occurring salt mixture, for about 40 days. This crucial step dehydrates the body, preventing decay. Imagine your desiccating form slowly transforming from flesh to a preserved husk, lying in a special embalming tent permeated by the strong, acrid smell of natron. The process is lengthy, deliberate, and entirely public to the select few allowed to witness it once fully dried. Your body is thoroughly cleaned again and then meticulously anointed with fragrant oils and resins. These are not just for scent. They are believed to have purifying and preserving properties. Your skin, now leathery and dark, is softened and prepared for the final stage. Any sunken areas of your face or body might be packed with linen or sawdust to restore a more lifelike appearance, ensuring your eternal form is as perfect as possible. It's the ultimate ancient Egyptian cosmetic surgery, but for the deceased. Finally, the grand wrapping ceremony begins. Your body is meticulously wrapped in hundreds of yards of fine linen bandages, applied layer by layer by the embalmers. Each limb, each finger, each toe is individually wrapped, often interspersed with protective amulets. These amulets, scarabs, eyes of Horus, ankhs, are not just decorative. They are strategically placed to offer magical protection, guidance, and power for your journey through the underworld. Imagine the sheer volume of linen, the careful, rhythmic movements of the priests, each bandaged layer a step closer to your eternal perfection. It's a precise, labor-intensive process, taking many days as the wrapping proceeds. Spells and incantations from the funerary texts, like the Book of the Dead, are recited, ensuring that each step of the mummification imbues your body with divine power and prepares it for the challenges of the afterlife. Your mouth, for instance, might be ritually opened through the opening of the mouth ceremony, allowing you to speak, eat, and breathe in the afterlife. It's a literal reanimation ritual designed to bring your mummified form back to symbolic life. After the wrapping, your magnificent burial mask, often made of solid gold and inlaid with precious stones, like the iconic mask of Tutankhamun, is placed over your head and shoulders. This mask is not just a portrait. It is intended to be a magical substitute for your head, allowing your ka and ba to recognize your body, even if it were damaged. Imagine its cold, gleaming surface, reflecting the torchlights. An idealized version of your face, ready to greet eternity. Then, your body, now fully mummified and adorned, is carefully placed within your series of nested coffins, typically made of wood and gilded, each intricately painted with protective deities and spells. These coffins are then placed within your massive stone sarcophagus in your elaborately prepared tomb. The entrance to the burial chamber is then sealed, sometimes ritually, sometimes with immense stone blocks, ensuring your eternal rest is undisturbed. Quirky, yet deeply practical, aspect. Some embalmers used to insert onions into the eye sockets of mummies. While the exact reason is debated by historians, it's thought they might have been used to fill the sunken sockets, making the face appear more lifelike. Imagine being a living god, only for your eternal form to be partially composed of an everyday vegetable. It's certainly a pungent thought. Historians still argue whether this was a common practice or an occasional, experimental one. The entire mummification process is a profound demonstration of the ancient Egyptian belief in the literal continuity of life after death, and your paramount importance in that cosmic cycle. Your disturbing journey through life as a god-king culminates in this ultimate transformation, ensuring that even in death, you remain divine, powerful, and forever present, ready to join the gods in the eternal fields of Aru. Your physical form, meticulously mummified and encased in layers of gilded coffins, now rests deep within the heart of your colossal tomb. The passages are sealed, the antechambers filled with your magnificent burial goods, and the very mountain above you stands as a testament to your power. But even as you embark on your eternal journey as an Osiris, there remains one final, disturbing facet of your existence: the legacy of dust. Your memory, your image, and your story will endure through the millennia, but often in fragmented, misinterpreted, or even deliberately erased forms. A fragile whisper in the vast expanse of time. Imagine, centuries after your death, the desert, winds whipping over your tomb. Your burial site, once a meticulously guarded secret, becomes a target for those who seek the immense wealth buried with you. Tomb robbers, driven by desperation and greed, relentlessly seek to breach the intricate defenses you painstakingly designed. The very spells meant to protect you, the hidden passages, the massive stone portcullises, all are eventually overcome. Imagine the desecration, your sacred resting place plundered, your precious artifacts scattered, your very mummy perhaps damaged in the frantic search for gold. It's a violation of the highest order, an assault on your eternal peace, and a grim reality for almost every pharaoh. For your immediate successors, your legacy is a living thing. They continue your building projects, maintain your cult, and perhaps even add their own inscriptions to your temples, subtly linking their reign to yours. Your name, inscribed in countless cartouches across Egypt, is a constant reminder of your divine presence. But as dynasties rise and fall, as political landscapes shift, your carefully constructed image can become vulnerable. Sometimes your legacy is deliberately erased. We touched upon damnatio memoria earlier, the deliberate act of chiseling out a pharaoh's name and image from monuments. Think of Akhenaten's post-mortem fate, or the efforts to obliterate Hatshepsut from the king lists, ironically ensuring her fascinating story would be rediscovered later. Imagine your face, once proudly carved in granite, systematically defaced, your name meticulously scraped away. It's an attempt to deny you not just your place in history, but your very existence in the afterlife, a chilling act of posthumous revenge. This deliberate erasure is a powerful reminder that even a god king's memory is subject to the whims of later rulers. Then there's the slow, relentless erosion of time itself. Temples crumble, papyri disintegrate, and the sands of the desert slowly swallow monuments. Your grand narratives, carved in stone for eternity, gradually become buried, silent to the world. It is only millennia later, with the advent of archaeology, that your story begins to resurface. Imagine your mummy, after thousands of years of undisturbed slumber, being carefully unwrapped by curious hands, exposed to the harsh light of a new world, studied with tools you couldn't possibly comprehend. Your secrets are revealed, your physical ailments documented, your face reconstructed by forensic artists. It's an invasion of privacy on an epic, transmillennial scale. Modern interpretations of your life and reign add further layers to your legacy. Historians and Egyptologists meticulously piece together fragments of evidence, inscriptions, artifacts, skeletal remains to reconstruct your story. Sometimes this paints a heroic picture, other times a brutal, autocratic one. You are debated, analyzed, and reinterpreted through the lens of modern morality and scientific discovery. Imagine scholars arguing about your personality, your motivations, and the very nature of your divinity. Thousands of years after you ceased to breathe, historians still argue whether the romanticized image of the pharaoh as a benevolent god-king holds true for all rulers, or if it's largely a construct perpetuated by royal propaganda. A quirky detail that highlights this lasting yet often misunderstood legacy is the sheer number of false pharaohs or misidentifications throughout history. Early archaeologists, driven by enthusiasm and limited knowledge, sometimes misattributed mummies or artifacts, leading to confusion about who was who. Imagine being a powerful pharaoh, only to have your eternal identity mistaken for some lesser noble for centuries. It's like being confused with your cousin Barry who works in accounting. It's a minor indignity, but an indignity nonetheless. Your influence, however, extends far beyond academic debate. Your image, the very concept of the pharaoh, has permeated global culture. From Hollywood movies to popular literature, from video games to art, the enigmatic power of the pharaoh continues to fascinate. You are a symbol of ancient mystery, immense power, and timeless allure. Your disturbed life, full of paradoxes and contradictions, continues to inspire awe and curiosity. Ultimately, the legacy of dust is a powerful paradox. You, the pharaoh, built for eternity, yet your memory is shaped by the very forces you sought to command: time, human ambition, and the shifting sands of understanding. Your disturbing life, a tapestry woven from divine power, human frailty, and relentless ritual, becomes a timeless story, forever captivating and forever hinting at the unseen realities beneath the gold and granite. You may be gone, but the echo of your divine reign, disturbed and magnificent, resonates through the ages. And so, as the desert night finally settles, casting long shadows over ancient ruins and whispered tales, you can almost hear the soft, rhythmic breathing of the land. A land shaped by the pharaohs, by you. The weight of the crowns, the chilling whisper of plots, the endless rituals, the very struggle to maintain a fragile cosmic order. It's a story etched not just in stone, but in the collective imagination of humanity for thousands of years. These god-kings commanded empires, built wonders, and wrestled with the profound disturbance of being both mortal and divine. Their lives, a blend of opulence and isolation, power and paranoia, leave us with a sense of awe and a lingering fascination. Remember, history isn't just dates and names. It's the echo of human lives, even those lived on a godlike scale. So, as you drift off, perhaps you'll dream of sun-drenched temples, the silent flow of the Nile, and the enduring, disturbing legacy of the pharaohs.